All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Blindside Blitz. I am Jim McPhee, and happy Halloween to everybody out there. Halloween's coming up in just a few days, so I hope you guys are excited for that. The kids out there are going to be getting their candy. You guys going to go to some more costume parties out there. I'm sure you guys are. Let us know, too, if you guys did. How did you guys have? What kind of fun did you guys have? What did you guys do? What did you dress up as? Let us know in the comments. Joe is not with us right now. He could join us by remote in just a little while. He had a late night here at work so he'll hopefully will catch up with us. I've got my man Bonesy over there, though. Bonesy is filling in for Joe over there. Bonesy, what's going on? Okay, Bonesy's kind of quiet right now, but we'll get to Bonesy later on, and maybe Joe will join us just a little bit. But yeah, another exciting week in the NFL. We've got lots to talk about. I'm going to complain about some stuff, especially my New York Football Giants. I've got a pick six lined up for you guys too, as well. Just before we get to that, though, I'm going to let you guys know too. We are brought to you by Grumblings Media. You can find us here at grumblingsmedia.com. All you got to do right there is scan the QR code, and I'll bring you right there to just check out all your latest and greatest podcasts, just like ours, from sports, entertainment, political, whatever you guys want, it's all right there. Articles as well. And then also, if you don't mind the video too, you want to listen to us audio and take us on the go, you can find us anywhere you can get your podcast, and that's Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music as well. So scan the QR code, follow along, become a subscriber, and join the Blitz Nation today. Absolutely, with Grumblings Media. All right, so yeah, another exciting week of football here. We've had some close games, some blowouts. Oh my goodness, and some last minute Hail Marys. How about that? We'll get to that in just a little bit though too. But first I'm going to bring up the state of the New York teams right now. It's a New York nightmare right now. If you're a New York fan of sports right now, New York sports fan, it is pretty rough right now. Even though the New York Yankees are in the World Series right now, they're about to get swept by the Dodgers. So that's going to be disheartening here. I know a lot of Yankees fans were excited to get to the World Series, but yeah, I mean they came and meet the Dodgers and just not prepared. And you see the difference between the ball clubs here, and where you think the Yankees might be able to do something here, and then they get to the postseason and they run into a real good team like that, and they're not even close. So so it's tough for Yankees fans out there, but we are a football show, so we're going to talk about the football. Okay, so let's talk about the New York Jets here. The Jets, another team that I thought was going to do something here. If you got a healthy Aaron Rodgers coming back, and he's got enough weapons there. You've got a good running game. You've got a top 5 ranked defense in some close games early on in the season. And, just fallen short. And now they find themselves behind the 8 ball here with a losing record, last in the division. Well, tied for last, I think, in the division with the Patriots. But again, not where they expected to be, and not where I expected it to be. Yes, they're tied at 2-6. Aaron Rodgers not looking very good as well, too. He's looking really old and tired right now. They just a week or so ago, they pull off that trade to get Devontae Adams, and they're thinking that's the thing that's going to make this team move forward and get out of this slump that they've been in here. And the thing is, too, that this defense has been able to hold teams just about below 20 points for the last 5 weeks, except for last week, 22. But just mainly the problem here is the offense not connecting and running on all cylinders here. And it's a problem because it doesn't get any easier really for them right now. You do face the Houston Texans here coming this next week. So Texans about to put the nail in the coffin. Maybe that's just a Halloween pun here, but put a nail in coffin on the New York Jets season. And it doesn't get any easier after that. Like I say, you've got a couple of tough matchups here down the road. With even the Colts now, with Joe Flacco now joining the helm with those guys, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But the Arizona Cardinals aren't exactly a pushover team either. But when you look at this team, what really kills you is, one, they seem like a very undisciplined team. The New York Jets, they seem to kill drives like constantly, and this is what will make you a losing team right now, and why they are kind of where they are too. The lack of discipline. the penalties that just kill drives. You're down there ready to score, and scores are wiped away by the penalties. And then on top of it, Aaron Rodgers is just not throwing accurate balls anymore. He seems really uncomfortable in the pocket, trying to trust in Davante Adams as much as he can here, but still, he's kind of the issue here. It's not Davante. It's not some of these other guys. These other guys are getting open. He's not hitting him in stride like you would have thought with Aaron Rodgers. And now the Jets find themselves right at the bottom of the division, and it is a tough hole for them to dig out. Especially in this division where I thought it was a little closer early on. And but now the Bills look like they're kind of leading the way in this division, saying we're ready to take this thing further. You do have a healthy Tua Tagovailoa back with the Miami Dolphins here, which could help propel them to compete a little bit for at least second spot in this division. But look at the AFC though. AFC is filled with a lot of good competition here, and to get into the playoffs, you potentially would need 11 wins here as a wild card team potentially with the way some of these teams are playing right now and at a high caliber. So it's not expected that the Jets can actually come out of this hole and get back in here and make a playoff run. So once you're down this far, it is a tough hole to dig out of. And like I said here, it is a nightmare here in New York, especially with the Jets here. They're, digging their grave right now here and putting the nail in the coffin potentially here are the Houston Texans here this upcoming week. So we'll follow them closely here, but they've got the talent. Aaron Rodgers is there. You got what you asked for. You've got Davante Adams. You fired Robert Saleh. The defense is still playing well. The interim head coach, a lot of times that sparks, some excitement and something in the team to play better. That's not happening. They switched offensive play calling. That hasn't made things any better. Actually, for some of them, I'd even question some of the calls still again and what they're doing. I think right now the Jets need to really stay a run-first team and work off of play action, much like Aaron Rodgers was used to in Green Bay. You can't put it on Rodgers to get out there and win you the game. You need to run the football effectively with Breece Hall and then open it up for Aaron Rodgers to make some throws. He can't stay in the pocket and take hits anymore and try and make these throws. It's just not happening. He's not that guy anymore, and he's banged up. If you look at the injury list that they have too, he's got injuries all over the place. His ankles everywhere. So it's a major concern here for the Jets moving forward. So I think with their division and the schedule that they have moving forward, it's going to be a tough hill to climb out of here. Yes, they do have the Jags and some other teams, but it's a long road for them, and there's going to be some tough competition here, and it's not an easy way to be paved out for the New York Jets. Next up here, I'm going to talk about my New York Giants too. Again, New York, we're struggling right now. The Giants, again, I had high expectations. Daniel Jones coming back healthy. He has had his ups and downs. He does seem like he's doing okay at times, but then sometimes he does do the bonehead mistakes. Last night, I don't think the loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers was exactly his fault. When you have a guy like Darius Slayton as, you're one of your key guys that he trusts to go to, a guy who is drafted in the late rounds, you can't expect him to be a guy that you can depend on all the time. Luckily, he has been doing pretty well and playing well for them, but there's not a whole lot going on there. The offensive line is not protecting Daniel Jones too either. Since that injury to Andrew Thomas, they've struggled, and that Andrew Thomas is the whole key to that offensive line. And he's the only really great player there. You've got Illuminor filling in for Neal, but Evan Neal wasn't any good too. He was a draft bust at this point. Illuminor is trying to go one-on-one with TJ Watt last week, and he's getting lit up, so it almost begs to say why did you even try and pull off of double coverage on TJ Watt last night? Illuminor can't handle that. You just basically handed the game back over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So hold on, here I've got a message here. But so it's more than that. You see the mistakes, just like with the Jets. The mistakes on top of penalties, turnovers, that makes you a losing team all the time. It doesn't matter how good your offense might be going and things like that. When you are undisciplined and you keep making these mistakes, you're not going to be a winning ball club. The defense, I feel bad for the defense right now because the defense is trying like hell. The defense is stopping, the pass, the run. They're up there in sacks. I mean, Dexter Lawrence seems like he's just playing out there by himself with, Brian Burns on occasion getting in the backfield. But all this is still on the defense, and it kind of sucks because overall you've got a decent team, but then when you can't get out of this hole because of mistakes and things like that, and the penalties that you have, that'll bury you, and you can't be a winning ball club when you're killing drives just like that. I've got Big John on with us here. Hey, Big John.
Hey, Jim, how's it going, brother?
Yeah, not too bad.
I saw you flying solo. Yeah. So I figure, what better than to have a fellow New York football fan come on to commiserate with you a little bit.
Nice. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot to be disgruntled about as New York fans right now. I was talking about quick the Yankees in the World Series right now.
Oh,
and then I touched on the Jets and the Giants right now. What do you think now, going back to the Jets? What's the issue there? They've changed the head coach here. They've changed offensive coordinators. Aaron Rodgers, what is it here?
Yeah, look, I think it's something that is inherent to the Jets, right? They don't seem to have a plan. No matter how far back you go since Joe Willie in 1969, they've had no plan, right? So they turned over the keys of the franchise. We've seen it before. They turned it over to Brett Favre a couple seasons ago. Didn't work out. They, instead of developing a Zach Wilson, a Sam Darnold, they always think they're one quarterback away, right? What happened? We bring Rodgers in. Look, Shannon Sharp said it the other day. I agree with him. Hey, you've run out of people to fire. You've run out of people to blame. At some point, you're going to have to start looking at the 40-year-old quarterback who's nowhere near as mobile as he was. You got to take into account his arrogance, his this sulliness, like, hey, I've been to the darkness, man. You got to embrace it. You got to accept it. I don't know what all that means, quite honestly, and I don't know if anybody else does unless they're on shrooms. Right. But the truth of the matter is that's not the way you lead a team, right? You don't lead a team by that nonsense, right? Now, what else are you going to do for Rodgers? You got Devontae. He's wanted Devontae for 2 seasons now. He has him. Mm-hmm. He's got Garrett Wilson. But you fire Saleh, so you take a really good defense, you throw it off kilter. You take the defensive coordinator, you make him head coach, he's still calling the defensive plays. How's that helping your offense? And then you come out with that lackluster game again. I don't know, man. I hate to say it because it seems like if you're a Jets fan, Jim, you're doing this every other year, right? Blow it up. Start all over, man. Blow it up. Sell pieces off. You've got Garrett Wilson. You've got Breece Hall. 2 good young offensive players. You still have the makings of a solid defense. You've got Big Q in the middle there. Mm-hmm. I say blow it up again and make sure you get rid of the stinking Aaron Rodgers as soon as you can. I think this is his last year and draft somebody good. You're in the top 5. Think about it, Jim. Mm-hmm. If we had the NFL draft tonight, who's in the top 5? The Jets.
Yep. The Jets. Yep. You are right there. Yeah.
Right? Supposed Super Bowl contenders. And here they are. They're already up for a top 5 pick. This halfway into the season, bro. Mm-hmm. I say, much like the Giants, I'm saying, embrace that darkness, Aaron. You're a backup quarterback at this point, because it's not even like his throws. I've seen maybe a handful of good throws this season, Jim. I don't know about you watching those games.
Right. Yeah, he just doesn't seem like the accurate Aaron Rodgers and the cool, calm, collect guy anymore. He's got really happy feet, very uncomfortable in the pocket. And I think even too, due to the injuries, I think he's really feeling it this year. You know what I mean? So he's really sore, achy. And for me, he looks just very defeated out there. I had said it to Joe a week or so ago. It just seems like, he's always kind of barked at people and kind of been like, it's your fault, it's that or whatever. But I don't really see any drive in him. You know what I mean?
You're right. I mean, there was this one play. I don't know if you saw it in the game. He started walking off the field thinking the quarter was over, and they were trying to run another play.
Yeah.
Before the quarter, and he was trying to get. The offense was lined up, and he had his head down, and he was already walking towards the sideline.
Yep.
Hey, how is that any worse than what Anthony Richardson did, taking himself out of the game, right? Why is that any worse? It's just that Aaron Rodgers, Richardson admitted he was tired and said, I need to come out.
Yeah.
Rodgers is just embracing darkness or whatever the hell that means, and he was walking off the field in the middle of a play.
Like he's the only guy there.
Yeah, you can't do that if you're a professional. I think, look, his heart wasn't in it. Even when the Jets got him, I didn't think his heart was in it. And I think that's what's happening now. I think I think they got to blow up and start over, man.
Right. And I think Pro Football Talk and Mike Florio had brought this up just as a hypothetical, but with the trade deadline looming, do you think there's any team potentially that they could trade to just get rid of Aaron Rodgers right now at the trade? I didn't think so either. Because even value's super low, and then you would have to basically lose your starting quarterback right now. And be a playoff contender right now and be like that desperate to I need somebody right now, something.
Yeah, but Jim, you know what? Trading him isn't going to fix his attitude, right? Like, look at someone like a Joe Flacco, like the perfect backup quarterback, right? He's accepted it. He understands. He's at that stage of his career. His greatest value is I'm going to come in for 4 games, 5 games a year, maybe. If I've got a rookie quarterback or somebody young or somebody gets hurt. Those guys are worth their weight in gold, like a Jacoby Brissett, a Tyrod Taylor. Like, these are professional backup quarterbacks. Andy Dalton now at this stage of his career, right?
Yep.
They've accepted it. I think Tom Brady ruined it for a lot of these quarterbacks, Jim, because they're saying, hey, Brady played till he was 45.
Yep.
But we forget, a 40-year-old quarterback is still a rarity, even today's game.
Right.
And Aaron Rodgers is a 40-year-old quarterback coming off of an Achilles injury. That's tough enough for a young, in-shape quarterback. Now you're talking about a 4-year-old? Jim, I don't know how old you are. At 40, I couldn't get out of bed in the morning without creaks and cracks, and I wasn't getting chased down and having 300-pound linemen fall on me, right? So,
right, exactly.
What do we expect, man? If you're a Jets fan, embrace the darkness. Tank. Get the first pick. Get yourself a young quarterback. Start over. Hire a quarterback guru. No more defensive gurus. Hire a quarterback guru. You've already got some nice pieces. Garrett Wilson, piece. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, good piece. You've invested in that offensive line already. You've got a couple of first-round picks on that line, some good young pieces. Some of them are older, but you've got some good young pieces. It's not a lost cause. Get someone who understands offense. Get a quarterback that wants to play, that wants to be there.
Yep.
And I think that's the best hope for the Jets. But who's going to take Rodgers off your hands now? Even if you said just take the salary off our hands, who's going to take him at this point?
Right. One thing, you make a good point too there, coming in the next offseason, a lot of teams are going to look at Brian Johnson here, what he's doing with the Detroit Lions. So if I'm the Jets, I'm making him an offer that he can't refuse. Like, come on, visit, and you're not leaving here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, the stupidest thing they could do is if they hired someone like Belichick. Right. If Belichick's available and he says, I'll coach the Jets, that's the stupidest thing they could do. Yeah. They need an offensive guru. Unfortunately, like, Saleh was the great choice. If you said our identity is going to be defense, running the ball, mistake-free football, then Saleh's a great choice, right? And you hire a great offensive coordinator. But who did they hire to be their OC? Hackett. Like, one of the 3 worst OCs in the history of football? Between him and who was that guy that Buddy Ryan punched in the face? Kevin. Oh God, I can't remember his name right. You know who I'm talking. The guy with the goatee and he was so bad that Buddy Ryan, for those who were a bit on the young side, on Monday Night Football, Buddy Ryan, Kevin Gilbride, that was his name. Just popped in my head. Kevin Gilbride. Kevin Gilbride was the offensive coordinator, and Buddy Ryan was so frustrated at his nonsense, he ended up punching him in the face on the sideline during a national game. Hackett is on that level. Do you know what I mean? He's just he was horrible. The only reason he's employed is because, for whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers loves him. So that's why he has a job. So get rid of both of them, in my opinion. Like, Aaron Rodgers is a veteran. He doesn't need 3 seasons for a learning curve. He should be hitting the ground running, and he's not.
All right, we've got William Del Pilar in the house with us. He says Belichick hates the Jets and their owner. He'd never go there anyways. He's pretty much had a blast taking shots at them all season so far.
He's right. He's right.
Yeah. And again, he's going to be able to go wherever, I think that he's happy doing kind of what he's doing right now. I mean, he's moving all around. He's on inside the NFL. I mean, what a sweet gig to be Bill Belichick right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why bring yourself back into all that?
I think he says he wants to come back, but who knows? I mean, every year you're further away from the game, it makes it that much harder. Especially, people think head coaching isn't that strenuous. It's super strenuous. You don't sleep. It's a 7-day a week job. Look at Bill Cowher. Like, when he left the Steelers, I would have bet you cash money that guy would be on another team within a season.
Right.
He never yielded to that temptation, man. He never came back. He understood the sacrifices you have to make for that kind of job. So Belichick is 75 now. You said, look, like you said, sweet inside the NFL. Manning cast, he's great on Manning cast with those two guys. Maybe it's time to retire. 75. You had a great career. So I agree with William. He probably would never come back, but my point was, if you hire somebody who's a defensive-minded coach, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to have somebody who knows how to take care of a quarterback. So you draft a youngster, get a professional backup like a Tyrod Taylor or Joe Flacco to come in for one season, or you have those guys hit the ground running. But if you do that, you always got an issue like with Bryce Young, right? You never know how they're going to turn out.
He says here he wants one more job to break the record of all-time wins here with Don Shula's record. So who knows? Maybe perhaps he will. Perhaps he will. You never know.
Hey, William, look, William, if I had a 26-year-old hottie when I'm 75, I'm not coming to the game. I'm staying at home.
Yeah, I know, right?
Why would I coach a team if I've got a 26-year-old hottie? And she is a hottie. I don't know if you've seen pictures of it, Jim. She's a hottie.
Yeah, it's like, for that, it's like almost like, what are your conversations like? Like, what do you guys have actually in common at this point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But let's focus on the other New York team here that is doing poorly, and that's my New York Football Giants. Last night again, they're like they do enough to like dangle it out there, like, oh, look at this, we can actually pull off a victory, and then they do Giants things, sort of like what the Jets kind of do it. You know what I mean? You're like,
right?
Hey, I think it was Ojulari possibly, or it might have been
Okereke.
Okereke forced the fumble at the end. There. And you're like, yeah, okay, here we go. And they botched that, turn it right back over and things like that. The failed 2-point conversion at the end, that wasn't even an attempt. Like, they just lined up and just, you do that in like, backyard football, like, oh, dude, what are you doing? Like, just not paying attention, and this is NFL players, and Dable's come out and said that he's, they've practiced this over and over again, which it's funny because, you might have practiced it a bunch of times, but when was the last time you actually scored a touchdown? So you haven't been able to do this ever, you know what I mean? So that's probably why you're out of practice here with the whole thing.
It was crazy. First of all, I said, why are they going for 2? That was the first thing that popped in my head. Why are you going for 2? Because going for 2 just pulls you within 6. Like, I'm old school, and I'm an analytics guy. I'm a data analyst by trade. And I hate it when announcers say, well, the analytics tell you to go. No. That's not what analytics tells you. The old thing is still the true thing. You don't go for 2 until you have to, right? That's the old rule of thumb. You don't go for 2 unless you have to. If they went for the simple point after, they pull within 7, right? Now they could decide to go for the win or the tie if they get the ball again. So that was the first thing. So that 2 point, and it brings down your team. You look like a bunch of clowns running that play. You lose confidence. Why do something like that? The problem with the Giants, unlike the Jets, is the Giants have no talent on that team. So you really didn't expect, unlike other Giants fans, Jim, I hope you weren't one of them. I didn't expect much from them. And the problem with Giants is sometimes they get good enough coaching where they go on this little mini run in the middle of the season. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, they're like 2 games under 500. We can work towards a wild card. No. You stink. And it starts with Daniel Jones. It starts with the offensive line. The defense is coming around nicely, but what are you going to have to do this year? You're probably going to have to trade Ojulari away.
Yep.
He's you could probably get at least a 4th round pick, I would think, for an edge rusher like that. Probably a 4th round pick. He's still on a rookie contract. He's cheap. He's a 1-year rental for the rest of the year. I can, like, if I'm the Lions, I'm surprised they haven't already made that trade, quite honestly.
Yep.
But if you're the Giants, I think they're another one. You can't roll with Daniel Jones. It's not even funny anymore. I mean, I know you guys, you and Joe talked about this. Like, they gave him the going rate. What was it, 42, 41 million a year? I get it, but that would have assumed that he was a good quarterback. And from day one, he was never a good quarterback. I didn't like him getting drafted. I just didn't see it in him. You know, he's had these little flashes, and it's mostly with his legs. And you're like, but he just hasn't matured enough. The only time he's been successful is when they sheltered him and they had a strong running game with Barkley. So they have a defense. If they could keep the defensive pieces in place, they got Burns, they have Thibodeau. Their secondary is a little bit of a mess. Deonte Banks got benched for low effort, which you don't want to hear that out of a young 1st round pick, right? Being benched for lack of effort. That's like unheard of almost, right? So if I'm the Giants, I'm not looking to win too many more games. I mean, I'm sitting at 2-6. I'm just like the Jets. I'm probably in line for a top 5 pick right now. If you don't want to tank it, I would seriously consider it because you're in last place in the NFC East. Look at the Commanders. Look at the Commanders, man. They make the one pick they needed to make. They got their quarterback. Right now, that kid looks like the rookie of the year. I understand some people are like, he's frail. He runs around too much. He's always going to be hurt. Let's worry about that down the road. Right now, that guy is the best, by far, rookie quarterback in the league. Caleb Williams doesn't come close. Bo Nix is getting better, but it's not close. So look at the Commanders, 6-2, complete turnaround, one player, but it's the most important player on the field. That's the quarterback. When you look at the Giants, are you trying to tell me, Jim, you want to see Daniel Jones back next year?
Right. No, I hear you. Exactly. No, you don't. And ultimately, what's funny is still not Brian Daboll's guy. And Brian Daboll's been there for 3 years or so now. And the ownership has stood by his side, you know, and said, hey, we still believe in what him and Joe Shane are doing. So you know that they've got their back. And that's probably what he can always just say. He's like, listen, I inherited Daniel Jones. I tried to trade for Drake, you know, get Drake May this draft. Wasn't able to do that. Let me get my guy still. You know, I still haven't been able to get my guy and show you what I can do here. And
you know what it is, though? It's also, I think, part of ownership. Ownership for Giants traditionally is not very aggressive, right? They generally don't get that aggressive in making trades or big, like the few times they've made big signings. Who was the receiver that got signed from the Lions that turned out being a bust? I forget his name right now. The wide receiver. Number 19. He was like really good with the Lions. The second he started playing for the Giants. Galloway. Kenny Galloway.
Galladay.
Galladay. That's it. Yeah. That was a big risk for them. Ended up biting him in the thing. Then they signed that left tackle from the Patriots 7-8 years ago. Ended up being a bust for them. What happens with the Giants is they don't make too many splash moves, and when they do, they usually don't work out. Brian Burns is actually working out, right? So like Burns is working out, so that's good. But when you think about it, they didn't pay that much for him. Like a 2nd round pick for him was not high risk. So like instead of signing Daniel Jones, much like the Jets signing Aaron Rodgers, what was I saying at that time? Lamar Jackson was available. Yeah, it would have cost you 2 first round picks, but that's Lamar Jackson, man. You go out, you get yourself a Lamar Jackson. If you're really serious, Like maybe more so the Jets than the Giants. They should have gone after Lamar Jackson. But they didn't. They decided to get a 40-year-old retread who embraces the darkness. And the Giants decided to stick with a guy who threw more interceptions than touchdowns in his career when they signed him to $40 million guaranteed for 4 years. So the question you got to ask yourself is, how much faith do they have in themselves? Like, look, as crappy as Deshaun Watson turned out for the Browns, they went for it. Like at the time, could you criticize them for, they overpaid. Yeah, they were stupid for guaranteeing it all. But guess what? They went after probably the best available quarterback on the market at that time. So you can't blame them for that. But you're going after Aaron Rodgers? Hey, here's a trivia question. When's the last time Aaron Rodgers threw for 300 yards? It's been 3 calendar years. Like, his injuries in the middle of that, obviously.
Yeah, injury, yeah.
But in terms of calendar years, it's been like 3 years since Rodgers has thrown for 300 yards. Think about that. And we're talking about this guy like he's still the MVP. For the Giants, when's the last time you could say to yourself, man, I can't wait for that 2-minute drill to come back and win because Daniel Jones is going to run the 2-minute off? When's the last time you said that? Have you ever said that, Jim?
No, that's the thing. You don't trust anybody out there with that. And it stinks too. It's because even now when you see that glimpse of like even what Malik Neighbors, because you say, hey, all right, Daniel Jones never had that true number one. You give him Malik Neighbors. Neighbors is out there. He's making some big plays here and even saving Daniel Jones at times. But then even Neighbors every now and then a drop, it's a wide open one right to him and it's just doink off his hand. So, I mean, it's just very, disturbing and things like that to Giants fans to see, and when you see stuff like that.
But see, Neighbors on some level right now, I view Neighbors being like Jamar Chase. If you remember when Jamar Chase was a rookie, he dropped a lot of easy ones, right? And they were like, "Oh man, is this guy a bust?" But he worked through that, right? When he got on the same page with Burrow, Jamar Chase turned into Jamar Chase, right? And even now he'll drop the easy slant every so often, right? So I'm less worried about Neighbors right now. I like what I see out of Tyro, the 4th round pick they got. The running back.
Tracy?
Double T. Tracy. Tyrod Tracy, right? That guy is great. I thought a wide receiver converting to running back might have a tough time in the NFL, but he's big, he's balanced, he doesn't mind contact. He certainly got the speed. I like him a lot. The tight end they got from Penn State, Johnson, that guy is looking good. It looks like he needs some reps, but he looks pretty good. They've got some pieces, but the most important piece, you're not going to go anywhere until you figure out, A, your offensive line, B, the quarterback. So whether you do them in tandem, whether you draft a quarterback and get your offensive lineman through free agency or vice versa, I couldn't care which, but they need to do something. And look, recent NFL teams, Jim, have shown us another man's trash could be your treasure if you find the right trash with the right coach, right? Baker Mayfield. Wow, what a year he's having, right? And he had a great year last year. How many times was that guy thrown on the scrap heap, right? Sam Darnold, the Jets, number 3 pick overall, right? Number 3 pick overall, right? Who thought he would be leading the Vikings to first place or tied for first in the North, right? I mean, so there's guys out there that you can reclaim if they're solid, but lacking that, let's go draft, man. Top 5 pick. Let's get Cam Ward on the Giants. That's going to be my rallying call for next year.
Oh, there you go. He's William Del Pilar says he's Dable's guy. He said he agreed to give him that dumb contract. He's tied to him now. His ego probably thought that he could turn him around as a QB as he did with Josh Allen. Remember, Josh Allen sucked early on.
He like Allen. Allen had a rough time, but let's not forget Allen came from a D2 school, if I'm not mistaken. So people understood that he was raw, just like Trey Lance. Like there's also like an expectation, right? Daniel Jones came out of, was it Duke or North Carolina? It was Duke, right? So he's coming from a D1 school. He was a 4-year starter, I think. So there's a different expectation on him, right? As opposed to a kid like Allen or even Trey Lance, right? Who's coming from a D2 school. You could tell they've got rocket arms, great physical traits, And now you're gambling on whether they can pick up the mental aspect of the game, be able to slow the game down, and you understand that's a project. So what William is, I think he's not being fair with the Josh Allen comparison to Daniel Jones, because Josh Allen, A, was taken lower in the first round, but B, people understood he's a project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jones, supposedly, the reason the Giants took him that year was because he was a more finished product, right? Like they thought he could read defenses, he could get up there, fire the ball, Danny Dimes, all that fabulous stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it just hasn't panned out. Yeah, to some extent, but to some extent, you don't know what the Giants management was saying today, Bull, about keeping. I know that Jim, you're in the New York area. I'm sure you read all the papers. Like, there was controversy the day they said they signed him to that contract. It's not like people are saying it now.
Right.
Back then, it was like, well, what are we doing? Should we be trading?
Exactly.
Should we,
Yeah, it's buyers beware and things like that, so who knows, and that's the thing. It's like you had one. This is the thing that people were worried about. Like, all right, is this the worst case scenario? And we are faced with the worst case scenario now. Because again, you paid him, and we had last year, like you said, get banged up, out for most of the season, and just still, even when he was out there, not lighting it up, not winning you games. And right now, as he's healthy, not winning you games again. So again, where's the finger of blame go? Offensive line hasn't been the best either, but also we've seen teams with a quarterback that's, great or better than at least than Daniel Jones, make something out of not having an offensive line,
Right. So, and look, you could tell the Giants are trying to scheme it up for him, right? Because look at Wan'Dale Robinson. Guy gets like 12 targets a game. He's getting his number of catches, but when you look at his average, they're like tight end numbers. They're like 6 yards a catch, for 7 yards a catch, 7.5, 8 yards a catch. Like, that's not what your wide receiver should be doing, right?
Right.
So that means they're getting the ball out fast. They're like, we don't want Daniel Jones holding the ball, especially with Andrew Thomas hurt, right? Because they lost their like really good. He's someone who's really matured into a great player, Andrew Thomas.
Right. Yep.
But now you're like, okay, so they're scheming it up for him. He still can't get it done. Getting sacked by TJ Watt in that situation, fumbling the ball away, inexcusable. Killed your momentum again after that Okereke punch out. And by the way, if you're a fan of defense, what a game Okereke had. I was watching that guy all night. I have him on one of my fantasy teams. I play in full IDP leagues, and that I needed like something like 14, 15 points to win, and he was the only guy playing for me. At every tackle, I was like, 2 points, 2 point, 1 point for an assist. And then when he punched out the ball, that like in, what was it, like 2.5 minutes left or so?
Yep.
Man, wow. What a
And then recovered it too himself. It was
that guy's a warrior, man. See, that's one of those underrated moves they made that, see, the Giants always hit those moves. Like the guy you read about like 1 week into free agency, it wasn't a big name signing, but they knew who they wanted. They went after him. I think it's when they feel pressured to make a splash that the Giants never hit. I don't know if it's and Jim, I don't know what you think, man, but talk to me about why is it that some teams are always in salary cap hell? They never seem to be able to get players like the Giants. But then you got teams like the Eagles and the Chiefs. And it seems like whenever they need somebody, they just go out and trade them. There's no consideration given to salary.
To salary,
I mean, look, they went out, they got D-Hop, right? The Chiefs, let's say, right? Brett Veach is their GM. Went out and got D-Hop for them, right? Relatively cheap price. Then he went out and got Uche from the Patriots for like a 6th round pick.
Yeah, I know.
And not once have I heard anybody say, "Oh man, what are the salary implications? Cap implications?" The Giants try to pick up some scrub corner off the street, and they're like, "Oh my god, that puts us up against the cap." And I'm like, "Where's all this money going to?"
Right, exactly. Like they don't have the guys on the inside working the books, cooking the books. Like, whatever you got to do, man.
They got to hire a capologist, do something because. Look at the Eagles. Every year, there's a splash move made by the Eagles, and. Look, part of the secret is they always take care of the QB position, right?
Yep.
So they got Mahomes on that rookie contract. So by year 2, Mahomes was a superstar, right? He sat the first year behind Alex Smith. Second year he comes on, he's ready to go, superstar. Before it comes down to year 5 option, they've already negotiated an extension. Then they go to him, much like the Patriots used to go to Brady and say, look, you want to win 1 or 2 Super Bowls? Ask for more money. You want to win 5 Super Bowls? Take a little less. We'll make sure we keep all this talent around you as best we can. Eagles, when they had Nick Foles and all these, a Super Bowl winner, right? When they had Carson Wentz, number 2 pick overall. Who did they end up with? A second-round quarterback, Jalen Hurts, right? Because they developed him. Now they're not investing as much at quarterback, so they can afford to get a Saquon Barkley. They can afford to get an A.J. Brown. They can afford all these pieces, right? When you look at the Giants, we're in salary cap hell, Jim.
Yeah.
What are we spending it on?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we spending it on?
What are we spending it on? Yeah. It's like what with Dexter Lawrence, you know, I mean, it's like, you know,
Hey, listen,
Andrew Thomas, still, but those are good guys you want to invest. We've seen, like you said, Chiefs, perfect example. You've got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, you've got Chris Jones, even there.
Chris Jones
stayed there. You know what I mean? You've made it work. And even some of the guys that you've decided to let walk that were good, you've had other guys step up and still make some plays. You know what I mean?
Well, that's great coaching too, man, because look at Andy Reid. He knows exactly who he wants for a system. Brett Veach knows exactly what works for Andy Reid's system. So here's a perfect example. If you asked me, you, any other football analyst, what did the Chiefs need? They needed a corner, right? They need a good corner. But what does Veach do? Instead of trying to get a good corner, of which there are none on the market, and if you do find one, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, right? What does he do? He says, guess what? I can't find a good corner. I'm getting myself a cheap pass rusher because if I can't cover him, I might as well get to the quarterback. So you probably went to Spaniolo and said, look, do you want me to get you a mediocre corner or do you want me to get you a pass rusher? And I'm sure Spag sat down and went, in my system, get me the pass rusher. I'll make the current corners work. You get me the pass rusher. Why do you think Ladarius Sneed, no impact on that defense? They're still a top-rated defense. That guy walked. He was a headache. They let him walk. What did they say? Hey, we're going to get pass rushers now. So that's what they went and got. That's a sign of a GM and not just one coach, but the entire coaching staff working together. You look at the Giants. It's like, I'm sure Shane and Dable talk, but do they really know like what's going on? Like you said, year 3 of Dayball, and to some extent, William in his comments was right. Yeah. Maybe Dayball didn't want Daniel Jones, but he accepted him. He agreed to it at some point. So he's got to make it work for him. So he should have gone back and said, okay, if I'm keeping Jones, make sure I got Barkley. Or if I can't have Barkley, go out and get me the best left tackle you can get me. Now, I know they added some pieces, right? Or get me a right tackle because Evan Neal was a bust, right? So, okay, get me a right tackle. Get me a left guard. You know, whatever they needed. And look, some of it takes time, but I don't see any improvement on the G-men either.
Right. And again, that's the thing. You're in look at the wide receiving core that you have. And like you said, if they had to have that conversation with Brian Daboll and said like, hey, listen, if you feel comfortable rolling with Daniel Jones still, do you feel that you can make it work and we can be a winning team with him? Can you make us win if you keep him? You know, and if he said yes, okay, so then we move on from Saquon. Are we still good? You know, then like you said, you could have probably kept them all in. You know, like you said, with the way the teams are restructuring contracts left and right. You know, I'm sure if you even went to Daniel Jones, you're like, hey man, you know, blah blah. You know, if you make this a void year, if we give you some bonus money now instead or something, we'll make it work, you know, whatever, you know, I don't think it's out of the, you know, the question for most of these guys. And I think even if you wanted to go to Dexter Lawrence and some of these other dudes too, because if these guys are playing their hearts out, they're the stars of the team. Yes, they're paid, but they don't want to lose all the time. They're veterans. You hear them the way they're sounding right now when they're getting interviewed after the games. They're disgruntled. They're like, oh man, I just hate losing. You know, they'll do something like that because they don't want to lose. They don't want to be that star guy on a losing team because then the next time, you know, they're interviewed, they're like, yeah, I want out. You know, I mean, look at so many other players that are like that. Like, I don't want to waste my time here.
Yeah, and I think Dayball has. It's just like when I watch Giants games, especially they're my hometown team, and I grew up a Giants fan. I go back to Norm Snead, Ron the Spider Lockhart, Ron Johnson, Bob Tucker was my favorite player growing up, tight end for the Giants. I'm old school Giants fan, and when I watch Giants games, Jim, I look at the sideline a lot during the broadcast, and Dayball has had it with Daniel Jones. If you saw him on the sideline, he didn't want to talk to him that much. He kind of, every time he made a mistake, he had that cross-eyed look to him, meaning Dayball, not Jones.
Right,
He just had sort of that look like, come on, like again, and when they screwed up that 2-point conversion, you could see him mouth the words, what the hell was that? So I think Dayball is done trying to teach Jones. I think that's done.
Yep.
So the question is, can you get out of the contract at the end of the season? I think you can. I think that even though the money's guaranteed, it's somehow structured in there that they'll take a dead cap hit, but it won't be as severe. They'll get rid of him by the roster date, hopefully. The only question that right now is, do you keep Drew Lock as your bridge? Is he good enough to be your bridge quarterback? I think he probably is.
Yeah.
Draft a kid with the intention of at least starting him in 2025, have him start on the bench, and then bring him along. So like you did with Manning, right? A lot of people forget who was the quarterback in New York when they drafted Eli Manning. Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner, yeah.
It was Kurt Warner.
Yep.
And then after he left the Giants, he took the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. Yep. So Kurt Warner had plenty of football left in him, right?
Yeah.
But they said he's the bridge quarterback to Eli. That's it. So I think you got to make that type of decision at the end of 2024 if you're the Giants. If you're in the top 5, you have a shot at one of the top 2 quarterbacks. You kind of like your options that you potentially get in the draft with the quarterback. You start that 5-year clock running on the rookie contract, and you say, I don't care what happens. I don't care how we end the season or whatever. Our job, draft our franchise quarterback. We're going to use Drew Lock as the bridge quarterback. I don't care what else falls into our lap. We maintain the rest of the team. We try to have some improvement. We try to build some winning habits in 2025.
Right.
Maybe we go 8-9. That's a victory in 2025 on the rebuild. You go 8-9 and you say, okay, I'm building. Malik Neighbors now knows how to win.
Yep.
Our new quarterback knows how to win. The running backs know how to win now. Hey, we got one offensive line with no injuries. They all played together for 17 games.
Right.
That's a win. I think if you're a Giants fan, that's what you got to view. See, that's different than the Jets. I think the Jets are really a quarterback away. Yeah. It's just that they keep picking the wrong quarterback.
Yeah.
So the Jets need to get a new quarterback, an OC. I think the Giants coaching stays in place. I don't think they get rid of Dayball at the end of the year, but it's probably his last year in 2025 unless he turns things around. Right. Same thing with Shane. So I think they draft their quarterback. Now he's going to be tethered to the new quarterback. If he breaks even with a new quarterback in 2025, then he can move on. So I think both New York teams need a rebuild, but for different reasons, and they're at different stages of the rebuild.
Right.
If I'm putting money, Jim, if they both do the rebuild the right way, the Jets are going to be in the playoffs a lot sooner than the Giants.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you there too. And like you said, now Daniel Jones comes off the books. You got Drew Lock to be your bridge, but then also what you've found out now that you do have Tyrone Tracy. So Singletary, you don't need him anymore either. So you can just you only brought him in too because he already knew your system. You trusted him enough here too. Now you can shed that, and not that it was a lot of money either, but move on. That's a roster spot that you could put to somebody else, get some more talent involved.
But you know what? Singletary's the kind of guy that you could keep on a cheap contract, and he's a benefit to your team. He's a good backup. And I'm sorry, I butchered Tyrone Tracy's name earlier. I think I said Tyrod Tracy, but Tyrone Tracy Jr. He's positive. You keep Singletary around. You've got a nice backfield because most teams look at Detroit, Montgomery, and Jahmyr Gibbs. What a great tandem that is, right?
Yep.
The Giants, not that I'm saying those two guys have the potential to be Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, but that's a solid backfield, right?
Yep.
So Singletary worries me less. I'm more worried about the Slaytons of the world. Get rid of Darius Slayton.
Right.
I mean, he has some trade value now. Get rid of him now. Somebody needs a deep threat. send him off for a 4th or 5th round pick, 6th round pick, whatever somebody will give you for him. Take the salary off the books. Take a day 3 pick if you have to. Just get him off the books now while he has some value. At the end of the year, he won't have any value.
Yeah.
Plus, there's always injuries. The Jaguars reportedly were trying to get rid of Christian Kirk before the trade deadline.
Yeah. Wow.
Guy broke his collarbone this past weekend. There goes his trade value. I mean, it's horrible that he broke his collarbone. Don't get me wrong. I'm not minimizing the human aspect of it. But if you're the Jaguars, that guy might have been a 4th round pick for you.
Yep.
Right? In a lost season, you could have gotten a 4th round pick for him. You've got Brian Thomas Jr., a rookie wide receiver, looking really good.
Yep.
You already signed Trevor Lawrence. I think the jury's still out on whether Mr. Luxurious Jennifer Aniston hair is any good. And look, we already said we were talking about the Jags. I just looked over on the newswire. Looks like the Vikings traded for Cam Robinson. The Jaguars just traded him to the Vikings. So they're already in that mode, right? They're selling their pieces.
Yep.
Christian Kirk probably would have got him some nice compensation.
Yep.
If you're a team like the Chiefs, the Niners could have used another wide receiver.
Yep.
Some of these contending teams, and you're seeing it now. GMs look like they grew up in fantasy football, Jim. They're more willing to make trades now.
Yeah.
It didn't the I'll let you go. You're the host. I'm used to being the host, but I'll keep quiet, Jim. Let's go where you want to go, Jim.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of different trades here out there. One thing I wanted to touch on, too, is the fact that the Colts now bench Anthony Richardson. We brought it up earlier, and now we'll start Joe Flacco week 9 versus the Vikings, who now just traded for Cam Robinson. Again, we saw that it's a social media meme now. Everything, Anthony Richardson taking himself out of the game because he's gassed a bit there, and he hasn't been playing well. I mean, that's there's 2 different narratives you could say about this. Is the guy just not very good because he didn't get a lot of playing time in high school or college, entered right in the NFL, got the starting job right away, and throw right in a fire. Didn't get a chance to sit behind somebody, just like Tom Brady has said. He said, I think the NFL's got it all wrong. They got to kind of do it the way kind of like I have always kind of, I was brought up through Michigan. Learn from this guy, get your turn, and work yourself up to do that. And then you're prepared. Or is it just that, he's no good now and it was just a flat out bust. And this whole time we've been trying to dangle him out there and trying to force him to be good, something that he's not. And you've got Joe Flacco here that can actually win you games. And it should have probably put him in here sooner than later. And now finally they're late to the show here and making the change.
You know what? I think I'm going to be a little contrarian on this. So earlier when we had William say, well, he made a Josh Allen comparison to I think Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones, yeah. I
think the Josh Allen comparison is more apt for Anthony Richardson. I'm one of the people that likes Anthony Richardson. I will admit, though, he needs to mature. He still needs to develop. But when the kid plays in spurts. Now, he has been hurt. He missed almost all of last year, right? Because of his style of play, he gets hurt a lot. So there's a couple of things with his play that he needs to develop. He has to learn to slide more, obviously. He has to learn not to put himself in as much danger. By the way, who else needed to learn that? Josh Allen. You can't deny Richardson's physical tools. Oh my goodness. He threw a back, was it the first game of this season?
Yeah.
Off his back foot, threw a 65 yards in the air pass on a dime to his receiver. I think it was not down, so Alec Pierce.
Yep.
Into double coverage, perfect pass for a TD. You're just blessed if you could do that. There's he had no form, no technique. It was just that's where I got to get the ball, right? You can't, that's God-given, man. You can't teach that. But look at his completion percentage. Still horrible on the intermediate throws. His timing is off. He's not very accurate. He throws a beautiful deep ball. He's accurate deep, but those short and intermediate routes, still not there. He still has trouble processing reads. You could tell, if his first read isn't there, he's just as likely to take off. Now that, a lot of young quarterbacks do that, especially the athletic ones.
Yep.
So the question is he salvageable? Is he coachable? I think he is. this thing that they're benching him for this game, this is a lesson, and he needs to learn this lesson, which is you don't give up on your team.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hurt, you stay in the game. If you're injured, you come out.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Parcells used to say that all the time. When someone would try to tap out, he goes, are you hurt or are you injured? If you're hurt, we're all hurt.
Yep.
If you're injured, you come out.
Yep.
And for those that don't get the difference is if you're hurt, you're playing with pain, but you could still perform.
Yes.
If you're injured, that means if you stay in, not only are you going to cause yourself damage, you're hurting your team. And that's when you come out. Anthony Richardson saying, I ran around a lot. I'm gassed.
Yeah.
Man, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not on third down. Not on third down.
Nope.
Right? That's why you're in there, man. You're supposed to be in shape.
Yep.
You're a professional football player. Can you imagine LeBron on a fast break going, oh, time. Whew.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the fourth quarter. I've had too many dunks here, man. Give me a little bit of a breather here. Yeah, no, you don't see that, right?
Yeah.
You see guys who run 80-yard TDs, or 60-yard runs. They're the ones that tap out, right? For a player,
right? Yeah, they're hitting up the oxygen, quick or whatever, and they're getting back out there.
Quarterbacks. There's a reason why they're called field generals, Jim. Right? The rest of the team, they're the leaders of their team. The rest of the team looks to them for inspiration, for guidance, and for leadership. And when your leader says, "Hey, man, I got winded. Take me out of the game." No, man. Even when your offensive linemen are saying, "Man, that wasn't a good look." The center, I forget his name, he came out.
Yeah. All right, I think I lost you, John. You're frozen a little bit. But
he didn't want to criticize it, but he said that wasn't a good look. And I think the coach is doing the right thing. He's sending a message. He's like, you get to sit, watch how a professional does it. That's Joe Flacco. And then if you come back and have a good practice, maybe you start week 10.
Yep.
You have to earn my respect again as a player. And I think that's a critical lesson for a young quarterback. And it also shows him he's not above the team. And it also tells him where his responsibilities are. It's not just throwing the ball. It's not just running the ball. It's being a leader of this team. And I think that is a critical lesson for any young quarterback. And I think Shane Steichen is trying to teach that to Richardson. But overall, I think I'm in what appears to be the minority. I think the kid is super talented. I think he'll be a great quarterback. I think he just needs to learn. And people forget he was an underclassman when he came out, right? So, like right now, I think this would have been his rookie year if he had stayed in school and come out on time, right? So we got to take that into consideration too. Like Darnold. Darnold was a junior when he came out, right? He needed 3-4 years of seasoning, and look at him now. He's a competent quarterback now. Baker Mayfield had to leave the toxic Cleveland OBJ environment before he found his spot, right? So I think it's the same thing with Richardson. I think the Colts can turn him around. I just think they need to just season him a little more.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that too. Because it's tough to quit on a guy that quick too. When you have him there, you grab him and just because you're not having success right away, it's tough and but like you said, when I looked at the play again just to double check again, like maybe he landed funny on the ball and just maybe it knocked the wind out of him quick or something like that. No. And I looked at and I'm like, no, he just flat out just said, I'm out.
He got tired. I mean, give the kid credit. He was honest. I give him credit. He was honest. It wasn't like, I pulled something in my ribcage. It wasn't any of that. He admitted he got tired. But he also should have realized, my teammates don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. We've got these 325-pound linemen who gets winded more than they do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're telling them they got to stay in, but I got to come out. No, that's the wrong look, man. Maybe that's them. Maybe he'll also learn that's one of those times you got to lie.
Yeah, exactly.
I felt a tweak, or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, John, like we do a segment here called the Pick Six here, and I decided this week to make the Pick Six Halloween themed here. A lot of times Joe and I even decorate the studio and stuff like that too, but it's been crazy lately to do things, and I just have had time to do a lot of all that stuff.
Right.
I fell down the stairs this morning. I got my ankle taped up. Yeah, you talk about I'm 47 actually, and that was rough.
I didn't see you tapping out though, Jim. I didn't see you tapping out.
Yeah, I went
You
to work
got up.
today, everything, right? So we that's old guys, you know, we do it, you know, we don't
Old
care.
school, baby, old
Yep.
school.
Absolutely. So here I decided to go with pick 6. I'm going to pick 6 of the scariest teams right here now in the NFL. And this was kind of tough too, because there's a lot of great teams. I could easily just went by records or whatever. Like, here you go, this was this. But I'm looking at depth. I'm looking at the way they're stopping some teams on defense, but then putting up offense and stuff like that. And some sneaky teams in there too as well. So, all right, here we go. So in no particular order, really, I guess here, I'm going to let you guys know. First, I'm thinking of the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Pittsburgh Steelers right now, for me, I think are a pretty scary team going forward right now, because even the end of their season here after this bye week, after they get a week of rest here, is pretty favorable too. There are a lot of games they can win here. The Bengals don't look very good right now. They need help on defense, and they're not going to get it. They've got them a couple of times. The Browns, so I'm not, sold on them either, even though Jameis Winston somehow pulled a game out of his ass here. But again, that defense here ranked second in the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers here. Offense looks so much better with Russell Wilson there now too, and he's only going to get better week to week. He has not thrown any picks or anything since, and even Justin Fields, when he's in there, only 1 pick. So they're not turning the ball over, killing themselves. Pittsburgh are a very dangerous team, I think, going forward. What do you think?
Look, their defense is scary. There's no doubt about that. And I think the key is the running game is back on pace.
Yes.
Najee Harris, look, I'll be the first to admit, I had given up on Najee Harris. He just seemed to be plodding. How much of that was horrible quarterback play? That's a good question. If nobody, if you're putting 8 men in the box because they don't respect the quarterback's ability, that's going to make it tough on the runner. Although Jalen Warren was doing something. So I think they're a scary team. They're a team you can't look past for sure.
Right.
Can they come out on top in that division? That's going to be tough because you got the Ravens, right? You got the Ravens in there, and they're playing super hot right now. Although I have a sneaking suspicion, because I'm not a Russ fan. I'm wondering at what point he implodes. At what point does he poison that locker room? And look, for the fans out there, all of us here at Grumblings Media, we talk about things before we go on air. And last week we had this like a nice Facebook Messenger debate, right? Like I think we were split 50-50, Jim, right? Half the staff says, great move, we love Russ. The other half is like, nah, man, why would you screw with the winning formula? Fields was winning. It doesn't matter how he was doing it. He was winning, and the team was behind him. So, first of all, kudos to Mike Tomlin for handling that situation, right? He decided to go to Wilson for better or for worse. He said, we're doing it. That's all there is to it. I'm the captain of this ship. This is not a democracy. We're not voting on it. So kudos to Tomlin for keeping it together and handling that transition. But they're a scary team, but I don't think they go deep into the playoffs. I think maybe they get a wild card win type of thing.
All right. We've got Joe. Joe's going to enter in the studio with us now. Joe is here with us. Wow. Yeah.
What's going on, Blitz Nation? We are ready to
three-way now.
Yeah, three-way. Been at least 45 years.
There you go. All right, so I'm talking about the pick 6. We got scary teams. On to my next one here. I've got the Philadelphia Eagles right now too. Philadelphia right now, Saquon Barkley is in full beast mode. He's 100+ yards every single game. Destroyed my Giants. And Jalen Hurts seems like he's got AJ Brown there too. Really hitting on all cylinders here. Kind of being the quarterback that we saw early on in his career, kind of that they settled in on. It seemed like early on in this season, he was trying to be like a pure pocket passer or something like that, not utilizing his legs a little bit here, get out of and make some moves. Now he's kind of done a little bit more of that. And of course, relied behind that running game. Just let it happen, man. Just let Saquon do a lot of the workload. Then you run the offense out of that, and it's going to run a lot smoother for you, opening up, especially in that deep ball, which they did here with Devonta Smith here in the last game. I think the defense, again, you're looking at them, top 10 defense. The offense is getting back up there now, so they can be scary moving forward here as well.
They are, but here's the thing is I still don't think we've seen the best of Jalen Hurts yet. Not like he was before 2 years ago, where you actually got to see him distribute the football deep down the field, short, intermediate. I'm still not seeing that from him. He's still looking deep too often. He wants to hit the big play more with A.J. Brown than he does want to just take what's there. We've seen him throw into double coverage at times just because A.J. Brown is down at the end of the field. Let's get the big play. Let's get the big touchdown right away. No, we still need to see Jalen Hurts of 2 or 3, even 3 years ago, where he was throwing the ball everywhere, just whatever the defense was willing to give him, short, intermediate. We got to see him spread the ball around a lot more until we get to that point where this Eagles offense could be super dangerous, where then it might be even harder for any defense to stop. But until that happens, I still think the Eagles can be had. We've seen the defense, too, where teams start to get down. Look at the Bengals in the game. The Bengals were able to go up and down the field against that defense. So until we start to see the defensive side kind of lock in and then Jalen Hurts take another level back up to where he was supposed to already be at, I still feel like this team can be had. But, yes, you're right. They are trending towards the right direction. It's just I don't think we've seen the best of it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joe, I'm kind of tempted to agree with you, but at the same time, I'm going to push back a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think that, first of all, I think that distribution is hurt a little bit because they're missing Goddard. And I think ever since he went out, the passing game has been all or nothing to A.J. Brown. But I think that's because they're missing their top tight end. And that guy is critical in a lot of different ways to that passing game. Now, you also have Barkley that you could dump the ball off to. He's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. So he could sort of be your quasi tight end in a lot of those little wheel routes or, little stop and goes, hitches in the middle of the field, short distance. But at the same time, see if this resonates with you. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's being Mad Bomber Darryl LaMonica-like with A.J. Brown opens up the field for Barkley. I think that they can't commit to stopping Barkley in the middle of the field because you've got two really good deep wideouts between Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. And let's face it, what are you dealing with? Are you dealing with Smith's speed on a post? Are you dealing with the size and speed of A.J.? You can't put a quarter one-on-one with A.J. Brown. So yeah. you can't commit to stopping Barkley. See, when Barkley was at the Giants, nobody had to worry about a wide receiver or a tight end or any receiving threat, right? No. But now in Philly, you want to also maximize Barkley for the year or two you got him? Mm-hmm. I think that sort of offensive scheme, in my opinion, helps you with that. Because what are you going to do? Who do you focus on, right? Well, I think there becomes... Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying, though, is because when you pay attention to week 1 and 2, when the Eagles first started running that offense, Devonta Smith was heavily targeted because he was constantly getting open, short to intermediate. And A.J. Brown was kind of like that afterthought of like, just when everybody forgets about him, now we're going to attack down the field. And it was working for the first couple of weeks. Devonta Smith was averaging about 12 targets a week for both those weeks. It was insane. So Devonta Smith was taking care of all that short intermediate. And yes, they had Goddard then too, but Goddard almost became that fourth option where they only threw to him when he needed to. And then after Goddard gets hurt, now Devonta Smith goes down, A.J. Brown goes down until everybody started to get back. Now you have Devonta Smith, but here's the kicker, is last week, Devonta Smith wasn't heavily targeted. He should have been, wasn't. Because he was wide open short, like wide open. And instead, he would lay it up over top to A.J. Brown, hoping he would make a huge play. So I think it's not – I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I do get the whole Dallas Goedert, he is a part of that offense for sure. But I just think that, like, for Hurts going forward, he needs to distribute the ball evenly across the board, whatever's there, instead of waiting on just because I can, because I have a good offensive line, waiting for that deep threat down the field. So, like, you're right, Devonta Smith can get down the field as well, but definitely they need to get back into the swing of things with utilizing Devonta Smith as their kind of like high targeted guy, and then A.J. Brown for that big play guy while they're waiting for Goddard to get back.
I don't disagree with you, but here's a question that now plays into the reality of football. What happens when you have too many good guys playing offense for you? They all want the ball. They all want the ball, right? So
of course they do.
If the quarterback isn't, I don't know if the right word is mature, but if he doesn't have the strength of character, let's say, to get in that huddle, and when everybody's going, hey, man, I was open. You got 10 guys telling you that they were open. It takes, like, what was it? Supposedly Roger Staubach used to say this. Like, as soon as someone would say, I'm open, he'd be like, shut up. Nobody talks in my huddle but me. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew that right away. You shut your mouth. You listen to what Roger had to say. Mm-hmm. You need, now, not word for word, but you need someone like that in that huddle. If you're hurt, like, I don't care who was open. This is the play. We're going to Smith. We're going, why? Because he's the one who's getting single coverage. We're going to him. Hey, they're expecting something out wide. Let's pop Saquon up the middle. Let's do this, right? Now, a lot of that is coming in, all of it is coming in from the sideline, right? So my question to you is, what's happening on the sideline? Because Hurts isn't calling those plays, right? He's executing them. Right. But is the OC distributing the ball? Or does he have to listen on the sideline when the defense is on the field? Does he have to listen to A.J. Brown flapping his gums like, hey, man, I'm not happy. I'm not getting the ball enough. And, you know, we know A.J. Brown flaps his gums like that on the sideline. We've seen it. We've read about it. We've heard it, right?
Yeah, right.
Do you think that's playing into it?
I don't. I honestly, I don't, because it's not about what play is being called. It's about him executing the play when it is called. Like, right. When that play starts to develop, it's on him. It's not the coaches. The coaches already called the play. The play is in there. And I don't think that Jalen Hurts is the type of quarterback that he just lets everybody talk in the huddle and he's not commanding it. I think he does command it, because you don't see too much conversation when they're in there. It's pretty much just like, normal. Like he gets the play, they huddle up, he calls it, they disperse. Like, so I don't foresee that being an issue with Hurts. I'm pretty sure that he has command of that huddle. He has the leadership capability. He has the temperament of a starting quarterback. So I don't think that would be an issue for him, or that. But I just feel like watching those games with the Eagles that there are plays, and it's every single week. There you can see them. There's plays where could have took an easy throw, but instead held onto the ball just a second longer to make a deeper throw, try to make it happen. So, and that's where you started to see the disconnect with that offense. And we got all the questions, right? Like Philly fans, NFL fans were like, what the hell's wrong with the Eagles offense? Why can't they put up points like they used to? They have everybody. It's not a question of lack of weapons, but it's more of execution. And this falls back on Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, who has been under some scrutiny lately. Oh, yeah. Everybody's wondering why, hey, how come your offense isn't working all of a sudden? What's going on? And he just, he got the pressure just saying, relax, guys. Like, we got this. We'll work it out. We're going to figure it out. But until people start seeing results of that, like the questions are going to keep flying in. So I think that as far as the Eagles offense goes, it's going to iron itself out, but it could be better. Now it's going to be all on Nick Sirianni to make that change happen.
All right. So I guess we had a lot to talk about with the Philadelphia Eagles here on this one. So, so who knows? Maybe you guys aren't on board with, what I'm thinking with how scary they could potentially be, but that's the thing though with these though. So they could be. That's what I'm saying. Even you do see what the issues are.
Need to happen. Yeah,
and if that's what I think some of them are just started dialing it in now. All right, next up on my list here for the pick 6 scariest teams, I've got obviously the Kansas City Chiefs here, but because also the fact that Patrick Mahomes is playing terrible. You know what I mean? He's got 8 touchdowns, 9 picks. Doesn't look like himself at all. What's funny is you don't hear anything in the media about it at all. Like, oh man, this guy is terrible. Maybe he's, what's he doing? Or if it was Daniel Jones, you're hearing it every single day. But they're still winning though. They're 7-0, and their star quarterback is playing terrible. And they add DeAndre Hopkins to the team. And now, like John and I spoke about it earlier on, Uche on the defensive side of the ball too. A nice pickup for peanuts. I mean, it's amazing the moves that they end up making still. And we talked about also the fact that they don't have a lot of cap space, but they're still out there making moves where you have other teams that don't have exactly cap space or even more than the Chiefs not doing anything. You know what I mean? So what the hell's going on here? So now the Chiefs 7-0, but still that defense is a top 10 defense right now. Offense still is hanging in there, and they're only going to get better. So, I mean, that's what's scary about it. So,
and Pacheco's hurt. Let's not forget Pacheco's hurt, and that's a huge piece of their offense. And that guy's he's coming back though, right? He's on IR, but I think he's coming back, right, at some point.
He's on IR still, but he's probably won't be back till week 10 or 11.
Yeah. So let's say another couple of weeks. But but like if you talk about a team that's scary, I agree with you, Jim. It's like 7-0, so they're an obvious candidate for this list, right?
Right.
But Mahomes is having by far his worst year as a professional quarterback. If you're a fantasy owner and you drafted Mahomes on your team, boy, are you suffering right now. He's done squat. But it's a defensive team. Let's face it, it's a defensive team now. Their defense is terrifying on some levels. They just don't give up points. They're tough. They smack you in the mouth. Kareem Hunt, talk about your nice pickups, right? Kareem Hunt off the street, and the guy's your leading runner right now. D-Hop for a song. Uche's going to, they don't have that, their secondary needed some help. We talked about it. Rather than get a mediocre corner, the trade market or off the street, he goes out and gets a pass rusher. Okay, if we can't cover him, we're going to sack the quarterback before he gets rid of the ball. We're going to smack the quarterback in the mouth. That's just a well-run organization, a well-run front office. And you're right. I'd hate to face them when they've got when Worthy's a rookie who basically just runs in straight lines. That old joke, right? Wait until that 4.3 speed has some experience. Wait till he's got a dozen games where he's pretty much targeted 6-7 times a game instead of 3 or 4. And wow, and then he's got D-Hop to learn from now, take a little pressure off him. Come playoff time, if they're running on all cylinders, they're three-peat on the way, no doubt.
That's the thing too, is like if like the Chiefs are not playing very well on offense, and Mahomes, like we've all agreed, he's just having the worst career season you possibly could have, just not playing well. And I'm sorry, like I don't see the Chiefs as being that scary right now. Like they could be later on down the season, but right now, no, they could be had by anybody. Any competitive team can win. Listen, if the Raiders can come within a touchdown of beating the Chiefs as badly as they're playing, that's saying something. The Raiders are absolutely horrible right now. They have no business in being close to beating the Chiefs. So, like, I'm sorry, the Chiefs used to romp the Raiders before, and that was when they had at least a little bit more talent than they do now. But I don't get it. Like, the Mahomes not having a good season, when he goes to play these playoff caliber teams, you're going to really see how much this Chiefs team is suffering. And you're right, the Chiefs defense is playing at an all-time high, is playing very well. But by getting Josh Uche, great addition, by the way. However, where and how often are you playing him? Like George Karlaftis for the Chiefs is amazing. Like that dude, I would have loved to have him on my team, but obviously he's on Kansas City. That can't happen. Then on the other side, you have Wharton, who's actually starting to come into his own, and things are gelling really well with this Chiefs defense. So getting another pass rusher, I guess you can never have too many, right? You can always have them in rotation, but offensively, that's kind of like, to me, where I'm holding back a little bit on this Chiefs team. They're not as dominant, especially offensively, which could allow teams to either catch up on them or possibly surpass them in games, especially critical games down the season at the end of the season. So who knows? I just don't think that the Chiefs are right now the scariest.
I think if the question is, will they be the scariest? Yeah. I think
it's possibly.
Yeah. Big Joe, here's the thing. If you're a team that's playing nowhere near the best it can play, we all agree on that. They're not at their top of their game, right?
Right.
And you're still 7-0. to me, that's scary because you're playing a team down on its luck, for lack of a better term. They're not running on all cylinders, and they still walk away with the dub.
Yeah,
that's scary to me. Like, because that means, when are we going to get him? If we can't get him now, when are we going to get him? And then when Pacheco comes back, maybe if I think. Wait, what if Travis Kelce wakes up from his slumber? Let's say he gets out of that Taylor Swift dizziness he's in the middle of right now. Remembers that he's a football player just for 6 games. Like, this might be his last season, right? But let's assume for the last 6 games, he decides he's going to go out on a high note and he's saving himself for a playoff run. We saw a flash of it this past weekend. Okay, so now he's a little bit of an option for Patrick Mahomes again. You get your running game back. Now when Pacheco comes out, you got Pacheco, you've got Hunt. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be the new Tyreek Hill, but people forget it took Tyreek Hill, 2 seasons before he became the cheetah that we all know. I think they're going to get better. They're going to mature. And unless they have a total collapse later in the season, which is possible, but to me, that's why they're scary. They're playing their worst football, and they're 7-0.
Right.
That's what's scary.
Wait till you get them when you're afraid of that offense, when you're afraid of Patrick Mahomes going deep on you and things like that. 13 seconds and they can beat you, and then they're not that team right now.
Not afraid at all. That's the thing.
And we're gonna rumble, Joe. We're gonna rumble, Joe.
They're not that team anymore.
He spent his money on
team anymore. They're not. And to compare Xavier Worthy to Tyreek Hill is blasphemy. Tyreek Hill's on a whole other level in terms of acceleration.
Agreed. I'm saying, like, he's working his way there, though. He's working his way there.
Xavier Worthy, he's got a couple things going against him. One, he is so fragilely light, it's uncanny. Like, if anybody was to lay a hand at him, like I saw the Raiders do, the dude falls down. So that's going to be a hurdle on itself. And that's why you've seen, Andy Reid script certain plays when they bring him in to do those little sweep plays, and then he just rounds off the route and runs up the field. But if you get any kind of hand on him, if you get physical with him down in the field, that's another disadvantage for him. So Tyreek Hill was a completely different football player, but I don't think you're going to see the same thing. Now, obviously, top-end speed is there. He runs a 4.2 40. How many people can keep up with a 4.2 40? But that's
nobody.
Also if they can get a clean break from him.
Right.
So this team as a whole, to me, is, I would say this. I would say if they had their original receiving core like they were supposed to, Richie Rice, Malcolm Brown, and Xavier Worthy, I would say this team would be super dangerous. But the fact that you have Hopkins, who's definitely lost a step, and you can see it in the game, he's great route runner. He's going to get open. But again, as far as that high octane throwing it down the field at will, that's not here anymore. And I know Worthy's there, so it gives them a glimpse of a chance to have that. But I just think this team is so different now, especially offensively. Even if Pacheco comes back, Pacheco's a very good running back. But again, they weren't using him heavily when he was there as a starter. They used him to a nice change of pace and everything like that. So,
well, he was their closer. He was their closer.
I do think the Chiefs' offense is much different than what it was before. Do I think they could be dangerous? Possibly down the stretch. But right now, as we get right smack dab in the middle of the season, they are not that scary to me.
All right. So there you go. It's all about perception. And I guess that's where you guys are on opposite sides. And where John's thinking what I'm thinking. I'm like, down the stretch, this is one of the scary teams down the stretch. Obviously, right now, they're still 7-0 at least at one point, but I'm not going to call somebody like the Carolina Panthers scary right now when they're obviously a disaster. You know what I'm saying? So I know the difference between right now and what's projected. So here we go. We've got the last 3 here for my pick 6 of scariest teams going forward here, and it's obviously here the Washington Commanders. Just when you think they might even get knocked out in that game by the Chicago Bears, the Hail Mary of all Hail Marys since I've seen in a long time. Amazing throw to tip to catch. I mean, everything. It was just sick going right down to the last second here. And when you talk about teams that are almost like destined to win and also destined to lose, when John and I were talking about the Giants, you saw times in the Giants game where they would make like the Okereke, the forced fumble, and you're like, yeah, okay, but then the Giants do Giants things and then they turn the ball back over, or there's penalties that kill drives. There's teams like the Washington Commanders to where, yes, they're down or whatever by a score, but they're still never out, and they still have that lady luck on their side. They have still things about them, and you can never back them out of anything, at least in this season right now. And look at what happened here with that Hail Mary pass. And the Washington Commanders, they're got to be my surprise team of the season, at least at this point right now, too, as well.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect from the team. When we looked at this team roster-wise before the season even started, we questioned a lot of things. A lot of free agency moves on the defensive end with Dan Quinn being the new head coach. How's that going to work? Is it going to gel quick enough by week one? Offensively, them drafting, Jaden Daniels, he was like my top 2 quarterback coming out in the draft. I love this dude. I thought this guy was going to make a huge impact. And here he is with this team with Terry McLaurin, his go-to receiver, and he's utilizing everybody. Zach Ertz, for crying out loud, is still playing football and catching passes from Jaden Daniels, the rookie. So, and the running game has blossomed. Brian Bronson Jr., Austin Eckler coming back in the fold. Things are looking up in Washington, especially offensively. And what an amazing end to that game. When this is the best part for me. Tyreek Stevenson, their star-studded corner in Chicago, pointing at the crowd, laughing at them, basically thinking it's all over while the play is about to happen, and it's happening. Then all of a sudden realizing that, runs over to where the ball's thrown. His hand is the one that tipped the ball that went straight to Noah Brown for the touchdown to win the game. How amazing is that? That is epic, and what a way to end it. This is one of those things where this is why we watch the game. It's like moments like this that you can tell stories forever. Jaden Daniels, congratulations, my man, and let's go Washington.
Oh, Joe, I'm going to have to agree with everything you said. I feel the same way. In my dynasty league, I had my pick of any rookie quarterback. I took Daniels. I said that guy's number one on my list. I bypassed Caleb Williams. I bypassed Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, all those guys. I said I want Daniels because I think this kid is the future. Had plenty of arguments with William over it. He's too skinny. He runs around too much, blah, 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 blah. Okay. All good. All valid points. But there's a certain maturity of the kid already, like with Caleb Williams, you even see it already. Like a little bit of the facial tics on the sideline, and anytime I look at that kid Daniels, man, whether he's up or down, he's got a smile on his face. He's always cheering his teammates on. Super accurate. Even with messed up ribs, he put up over 300. Now, granted, 65 or 60 came on that Hail Mary, but and there was a ton of holding on that play. Let's face it. I saw 2 guys get dragged down by their shirts, right? I saw 2 guys get dragged down by their shirt tails. But all that aside, it's Hail Marys by their nature are lucky plays, right? But you could tell they were coached up right because Daniels ran around until his guys got into one mosh pit, then one guy in front, 2 in the middle, in the pit, 1 guy behind. Who did they put in the middle of the pit? Ertz. They put the biggest, stockiest guy they had in the middle. They left their wiry guys. McLaurin was up front. Brown was in the back. It's luck, but they were prepared to take advantage of the luck that came their way. They prepared for their lucky break, and they got it.
Right. Yep.
So to me, you're a team of destiny when that kind of stuff happens, right? And I think Daniels. Look, anything can happen, right? I remember when Rick Meyer had a great rookie season, outplayed Drew Bledsoe his rookie year, went to shit the second year and after that, right? I mean, so look, nobody knows what the future holds, but as of right now, Jaden Daniels is living up to everything I thought, and apparently the way you guys thought he would be coming out of college. I love the culture they have out there. Their defense is probably not playoff caliber right now. They're probably not going to go deep because their defense.
Mhm.
But and eventually the rookie QB thing catches up to you in the postseason. Like, who's the only one to go to the Super Bowl as a rookie? I think that was Roethlisberger, right? That he's the only one who went far as a rookie quarterback. But can they have first of all, they may win the NFC East. I know we just talked about the Eagles being scary.
Mhm.
The Commanders have a game lead. They may not give it up all season. All right. They may hold on to that game lead and take the division. I don't think they're scary, though, because I'm not afraid of their defense. So I don't put them in the scary category. I put them in the feel-good category. They're this year's worst to first. But I'm not scared of them because they're going to have to score 35, 40 points a game to beat you every week. And eventually the odds catch up to you on that. Just like the Bengals, right? The Bengals have no defense. They have to score 40 points a game to win. The odds are not in your favor if you have to do that every week. Eventually your defense has to make a stop. So with the Commanders, I like them. I'm happy that they turned it around. They were a floundering franchise after the Daniel Snyder era. I'm glad to see they came out of it. I'm glad to see they're on top, and I'm glad to see, unlike the Giants and the Jets, they solved the question of the most important position on the field. They have their quarterback right now. So gotta love that.
Yeah,
all right, here we go.
Yep. I just want to mention, so they're about to play the Giants, the Steelers, the Eagles, Cowboys, Titans, Saints, Eagles again, Falcons, and the Cowboys to finish off their season. So honestly, you're right, John. It looks like they're probably going to at least maybe split some of the divisional matchups, but overall, I think this team can win a lot of games going forward.
Yeah, I do too.
Right.
I think they're gonna be up. They're gonna hold on. They're gonna challenge for the NFC East. Absolutely.
All right, Joe, maybe you got to check your mic or something. We're getting a lot of breakup over there. Next, I got two more teams here on my pick six here for scariest teams going forward. I've got the Buffalo Bills here now too. Again, now that they've picked up Amari Cooper here, Josh Allen has got his guy here. We're going to see if those two hook up a bunch of different times. Stephon Diggs for the Houston Texans, man, out for the season for him. And then he's done with his contract too. So he'll be a free agent next year. So how about that? And what way that all laid out for him, huh? But again, I think Buffalo, they're showing that they're the superpower in this division right now. They're going to take off, sky's the limit for these guys. I don't think anybody else in this division is really going to battle them, even though Tua has come back to the Miami Dolphins. They still look a little skittish here on my end. But again, this team knows how to score in the red zone once they get down there. And they also know how to stop in the red zone too. Top 10 defense in the red zone and top 5 offense here, getting down there and scoring too with Josh Allen. And it seems like they've got a different running back in there too that can help them out in the run game too, other than Zach Moss. So I think that's big for these guys. I think the defense is playing, just as good. I know that's probably their weak point of this team right now, but again, I think the way the AFC is laid out, I think the Buffalo Bills can really kind of be that team that can kind of etch out a pathway to the Super Bowl, especially if the Chiefs do lay an egg and they still stay the way they are and just mediocre, because that's the team that's really kind of been the Achilles heel of the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs is the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you got a downwards playing Patrick Mahomes, that's perfect for the Bills right now.
One thing, if your Achilles heel is the Chiefs, why in the hell would you trade down to let the Chiefs come up to get Xavier Worthy? Just asking for the class. I mean, that to me just didn't make any sense. Knowing that you have issues down the into the playoffs against the Chiefs, just to help them out. Hey, buddy, yeah, we know you kicked their ass in the playoffs. Here, by the way, we'll trade with you so you can get up and get a better weapon. But for the Bills, this is a huge addition for them to Amari Cooper to come over from Cleveland. And I don't know if you can tell or not by looking at Amari's face, but he is actually happy to be in Buffalo. It seems like he always has that same just plain face, no matter what, doesn't smile. But he's happy to be there. He's got a quarterback that's going to get him the football. And this team was in desperate need of a number one wide receiver after missing out on Diggs and sending him away. You got Khalil Shakir that Josh Allen likes to utilize. Obviously, you have the tight ends, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, but now you insert Amari Cooper with the other young stud and Keon Coleman, who is starting to come along nicely. Now, we talked about this, Jim, last week about how is it going to hurt or help him? And Amari Cooper is helping him because he's spreading that field open. Everyone's worried about him. Everyone's worried about Cooper, but now they're forgetting about Coleman can play. So he's starting to get more influenced into this offense, and it's playing out very well for Buffalo. This is definitely making them a scary team because unlike before Cooper, where it was like, well, when Shakir gets hurt, like, who do we throw to? We got to throw to Dalton Kincaid all the time. And if that doesn't work, Keon Coleman's not getting open, so they were struggling. And now with this addition, it's opening up a lot of plays, and especially in the backfield, where James Cook is running like a speed demon. And then you also have Ray Davis, who they just drafted, who I thought the world of coming out of the draft. I was surprised that I was actually stunned by some of these running backs going as late as they were. But I get the value devaluation is real. But here they are. They got another key piece in that backfield. This is making the Bills very dangerous, and they are definitely a scary team to watch going forward.
Yeah, I think the Bills what's interesting is a lot of people thought this was going to be sort of a rebuild year for them. And I think the fact that they're coming out of this and they're looking strong. Now, a lot of that is Josh Allen, right? He only threw his first pick of the season this past Sunday. Over 300 attempts. That's like a Bills record without throwing a pick. That's huge. You're taking care of the football. I think James Cook has upped his game just a little bit. Now I think he's considered like a top 10 running back in the NFL right now. And you can see they're actually giving him the ball near the goal line. They're sort of letting him carry it in. He's starting to score touchdowns, which was a knock on him. Inside the 10-yard line, it was Josh Allen running all those things, taking all the beatings near the goal line. Now Josh Allen is like, I can hand it off to James Cook. I can hand it off to Ray Davis on occasion, and we could still score that way. Amari Cooper helps, but I really like the way Coleman's coming along. The last two games, over 100 yards. I think he's housed it in each game as well. I think Josh Allen is finally starting to trust him a little bit. Now the question is, you may have a nice problem in a week or two, Joe, with the Bills, which is you may have, like the Eagles, too many mouths to feed soon, right? I mean, Shakir was getting 12 targets. He got 12 targets last week. Mm-hmm. I think Coleman got 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. Cooper only had like 2 or 3 targets, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't trade for Cooper to give him 2 or 3 targets. You know what I mean? No. Let him work his way into the game, right? Yeah. He's going to be your number one receiver. Now, but what's going to happen with Coleman and Shakir? Are you going to have Shakir be your slot guy, and he's going to be your Julian Edelman type, and then are you going to keep Coleman in the Z and have him go? He's going to run your deeper patterns. He's going to be more of your speed guy, more your big bodied AJ Brown type. It'll be interesting to see how they work that out. They still haven't taken full advantage of of Dalton Kincaid rather.
Or Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid, yeah. I think Kincaid has the potential to be a super tight end. I think he's got all the tools to be a top receiving tight end. I don't think they're taking enough advantage of him necessarily. I saw that he scored a touchdown this past weekend in the red zone. That's what he's built for. That's what a good tight end does. A good tight end should be your primary red zone target, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're scary because I think they're gelling. I think they have their pieces. Mm-hmm. It was evident they had their pieces, but you got Josh Allen playing mistake-free football right now. I haven't seen him take too many linebackers head on this year so far, which is, you know what I mean? That's a plus, baby. If you're a Bills fan, that's a plus. I mean, I know we like to see him. He's macho. He's running over guys. I get it. But if you're on the sideline, if you're what's his name, McDermott, you don't want to see that 3 times a game, right?
Right.
You're starting to see some of that maturity. He's still got the rocket arm. He could still scramble when he has to, but he's like, Cook has my back. Davis has my back. Kincaid has my back. Coleman. I think they're starting to gel as an offensive team. Defense, I get they're tough in the red zone. I don't know if they're tough though. Do they have somebody who can lay the wood on the defense? I'm not sure that they do. I think they're missing.
Honestly, I'll say this about. I was very critical about their defense going into the season. I had question marks about Gregory Rousseau. Will he step up? I had question marks about AJ Epinesa. Will he even step up? Ed Oliver is a stud. Like that was the anchor of that D line and still is. But my biggest things was Gregory Rousseau and AJ Epinesa. Will they step up? And I'm actually pleasantly surprised. They are playing well above I thought they were capable of.
But they're not consistent, Joe. You know what I mean? I think that they take turns. You know what I mean? It's like one game Rousseau is dominating, then the next game Epinesa is the one. It seems like they're not both there at the same time. You know what I mean? I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong.
I feel that it's not about the pass rush. It's the run defense that's lacking. And those guys are not run defenders. So
no.
When you
they don't have their main run
that can play both ways, and you got just basically specialists on the outside edge and not guys that can do both, that's what's really kind of hurting that D line. Ed Oliver, he's a do-it-all kind of guy, but those two guys, they're basically just pass rushers and not very good at stopping the run. So that's where they're lacking.
Well, also, I think what's hurt them, aside from Milano getting hurt early in the season, Bernard was a tackle machine. Like pleasant surprise last year. I think just he filled up the stat sheet with tackles. And this year he's missed at least half the games. He's been in and out of the lineup. Like even was it when he came off when he came back, was it 2 weeks ago? His first game back, he was still feeling his way around, and then Dorian Williams disappeared last game. This guy was putting up 10 tackles a game, and then this past Sunday he had 2 tackles, maybe I think a tackle and an assist. He disappeared. So that's what I'm saying. Like I think the talent is there. It's just not consistent on defense. I wish it was more consistent. Like if they, I know this is crazy, but if they put like a defense anywhere near Kansas City's, I instantly put them as the Super Bowl favorite, the Bills, even over the Ravens. And I love the Ravens this year, but I would put them over the Ravens as a Super Bowl favorite if they had anything resembling the Chiefs defense and keep the offense the way it is. Because I like Josh Allen better than I like Lamar Jackson in the postseason. So but I think, hey, look, man, AFC, I love it. Bills, Chiefs, Ravens. Let's go, man. That's exciting shit. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. And finally, here, my last team. I have the scary teams here that we've had. We got 6 of them here. Here's the last one. It is the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are just flat out scary right now. They're going to be scary later on. I mean, just all around. This team, when we thought even too with losing Aiden Hutchinson, like they would take a downturn. No, their defense is still a top 10 defense right now in third down conversions. They are number 1, holding opponents to only 30% conversions on this one. I mean, it's crazy. And John and I talked about it too. They haven't even made a trade for another pass rusher yet, so if they get another addition before this trade deadline and make themselves even solidified here on that defensive side of the ball, that offense, you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know. Now we saw St. Brown throw a touchdown pass. Now we just saw David Montgomery throw a touchdown pass. Who else is going to throw a touchdown pass besides Jared Goff on this team? And
Sewell.
what he's doing right now, right? Sewell, right? Oh my gosh. And his completion percentage, Jared Goff, oh my goodness. This team is just playing on all cylinders right now. And with their schedule going forward too, very winnable, and still sitting there at only 1 loss. And like when we talk about the Chiefs, I think they're going to get scary because they're not playing at their best right now. And they're sitting there at 7-0. The Lions are just running on all cylinders right now with just that 1 loss at 6-1. So they're scary.
Yeah, maybe Detroit needs to take a page out of the Chiefs and Eagles playbooks when it comes to trade deadline making moves, because they got to do something. This is the time of year where if you're a contending team and you see an opportunity, you got to take it. Like I thought for sure the Detroit Lions should have called the Jets way earlier about Hassan Reddick. And probably try to get him into the fold. It didn't necessarily happen, but now you're at a point where the Chiefs go and pull off a couple of moves. The Eagles, we're still waiting to see if they're going to do something. And then Detroit, stop waiting. Go get Azeez Ojulari right now from the Giants. Go get him. You'll get a cheap price, low contract. You got him for the rest of the year. And if it pans out, you can re-sign him just like you do everybody else on your team. This is one organization that is becoming one of the greatest really quickly. They are taking care of their players. They are re-signing them, locking them in for the near future. And now make a move. Go get a pass rusher, help solidify this defense, and let's go. Like, this is one of the teams that I am super excited for. I'm excited for the fan base that's been in turmoil for decades, and now they finally got a winner and a contender on their hands. Let's go, Detroit. Let's make it happen, baby.
You know, Joe, I'm with you 100%. We did mention it earlier. I'm surprised the Ojulari trade hasn't happened already. They should have picked him up already. The Giants season's going nowhere. Hassan Reddick makes sense football wise, but I think they never renegotiate a deal with him. Like, they would never pick him up for the amount of money that the Jets are paying Reddick, right? So I think, though, the Ojulari thing makes sense, but I will say one thing. I love the way that defense has come together, and I think the guy no one's talking about is Brian Branch. I think that guy back there is a playmaker. He directs that defense, and it's not a coincidence. Ever since he came back 100% healthy a couple of games ago, that defense has been playing a lot better. That guy is the playmaker. He's the captain back there. It lets everybody else do their jobs a lot better.
Right.
McNeil in the middle, over the nose. I think that guy's really good. I know they extended him. But that Hutchinson loss, they're not seeing it yet.
Oh, they're gonna.
They're gonna. And I think you're right. If you're a team, your window's closing, go get Ojulari. Go get whoever you think is going to help that pass rush. Because at some point, the Niners are going to get healthier. The Eagles may coalesce. And if nothing else, you've got those two teams you got to deal with. And who are you going to get to go after Jalen Hurts? Who are you going to get to go after Brock Purdy? Look, we talked about scary teams. You didn't mention the Niners. What happens when McCaffrey gets back? What happened with Debo is 100%, right? Ayuk's gone for the season, but I don't think that's as big a deal as it seems, right? And that defense is going to get healthier as it goes along. They're missing a couple of Greenlaws out. They're missing a couple of people. I think if the Niners can tread water, the NFC West is theirs for their taking still. So that if they tread water and they get healthy, if you're the Lions, you want to have home field advantage if you run into the Niners in the playoffs, right? You still got the Vikings. Like, I don't think the Vikings are there for the long haul, but as of right now, you're only half a game up on the Vikings in the North, right? So if you're the Lions, don't sit on your hands. Go get that pass rusher. Go get two pass rushers if you can afford it. Go get two pass rushers. So what? Like you said, Ojulari's still on his rookie contract, Joe. If he works out for you, you keep him. Then you got Hutchinson and Ojulari next season.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Go get him. He's cheap. He's young. I mean, I'm a Giants fan, and I'm saying, go get him.
The Giants, I'm even as a Giants fan, I think the value's there right now for him too, because he's competing very well right now.
Well, so I mean, look at what he's already done. He's already has 5 sacks this year, and he's only a rotational player. So you put him in full time. Who knows what could happen this year? He could be very special for the Detroit Lions. And to your point, Big John, going back to Brian Branch, he's finally back at his home at safety. Last year, he was playing out of position, playing nickel corner, for God's sakes, and still did a great job. But because of the massive injuries that they had last year, was playing out of position. Now he's back at home. He's got other guys in front of him that he trusts, and it's looking great on the ball field, my friend.
Joe, out of position as a rookie. He was a rookie out of position, which makes it twice as impressive what he did last year. And now, like you said, he's back in his natural position. And you could tell, I was watching the game, he has a swagger to him, man. I was watching that game against the Titans. Man, he was in that secondary. They would cut to him every so often after he made a hit or he swatted away a pass. And he just had this confidence to him. You could see it in his whole demeanor, his face, his swag. He was just, don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about it. You could see him like settling everybody down.
Yeah.
Second year player, man. Like, again, there's some things you can't teach. And leadership, I think, is one of those things, man. And he's got it. He's in that. Yeah, you're right. The Lions are scary. But I got to ask one question before we get off the topic. Where are the Ravens on this list, my man?
I thought about it, but again, I'm just not sure again, especially if they didn't lose last week. You know what I mean? I thought maybe they would have been there, but there's definitely a few honorable mentions, that were so close. You know what I mean? Because
they just picked up Deontay Johnson to help out their wide receiver core. So
again, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much help he's going to be again, too. I mean, he might be okay, but another case of the dropsies when they just had. Well, I don't remember. Was it Zay Flowers or Bateman who's like, "Oh, the sun's in my eyes. I couldn't catch that one." It was
Bateman.
That was
Bateman. That was Bateman. Yeah. Yeah, that was Bateman.
And Lamar was the same thing. That's what he's saying. He's slamming his helmet. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" You know what I'm saying? What else can I have to do? I'm running for my life. Get open. You guys got to get open.
That's why they make. That's why they make sun shields. Just saying. If you have a sunny game, you might as well put one on and get used to catching with it because it'll help you later on.
At first, I didn't know if he was blaming the sun, praising the Lord, whatever. He just dropped to his knees and just did this. He reminded me of who was that wrestler in ECW? Oh my goodness, Sabu. Sabu used to drop to his knees and just point to the sky like that. So it's like he reminded me of Sabu. He was just like, "Oh look." Nice. It's not my fault I dropped it. Yeah, but anyway.
That's awesome. All right, so there you go. That's the pick 6 here for this week. We're going to be getting into week 9 picks moving forward here. Joe, why don't you tell everybody out there where you can find podcasts like this one here at Grumblings Media?
Oh, it's very simple, everybody. Great podcasts like this. You can also check them out at grumblingsmedia.com. Head over to the website. There's articles. There's other podcasts like this, sports, entertainment, political, you name it. It's there. And also do us a huge favor. We are growing like crazy on our Grumblings Media channel. Head over there, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you will. Also drop a comment down below. We are live right now. So if you drop a comment down below, we are going to respond to you guys. Whether it be an opinion, question, whatever you want to talk about, we're here for you guys. And pick us on the go everywhere you get your podcasts.
All right, so here we go. We're gonna do week 9 picks. John, I know you're very busy. You want to stick with us with picks, or are you gonna?
Actually, you know what? I was gonna ask to let to drop off. I got to go back and finish up work. But listen, man, it was a pleasure sitting in for Joe early on. And anytime you guys need me, have on Blitz Nation. Thanks for having me tonight. And good luck with your picks.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, John.
Peace out, everyone.
Yeah, there he goes. Big John, man. He's the best. He's what makes things go around here at Grumblings Media, though. You know what I'm saying? He's the guy. So if you guys like everything you see here and stuff, he's our main producer here.
He's one of the main guys of Grumblings Media.
Right. Yeah. He's behind the scenes, and then also he has his own shows out there too. So you guys check out some more shows here from Grumblings Media. All right, so there you go, Joe. For some reason, Google Slides is acting stupid tonight. I don't know, for some reason, a lot of things are going wrong. And I couldn't get the picks up. I couldn't get the other things going up for the logos and stuff. So I had to do overlays. So no Google is not helping me. So, but the picks, we did better. We had 11 wins here, so we're at 72 and 70. So we're there. It's still a two game change here, but we definitely did better here. We're turning things around here, trying to catch those analysts here at ESPN because we know we're better than them, Joe.
That's right. We're better than everyone.
We're better than them. This is for Williams. Stephania Bell. We are targeting Stephania Bell. So we want to beat her like we do every single year.
That's right.
Stephania Bell, we're coming for you. All right, there you go. All right,
they hate us because they ain't us.
Yeah, that's hate us because they ain't us. That's right. So Thursday night, we've got the Houston Texans and the New York Jets. John and I talked about the Jets and the nightmare that is in New York right now between even the Yankees, the Jets, and the Giants. I don't know, man. This is going to be a tough one here for the Jets to pull. I know the defense is going to show up to try and keep this a low-scoring game, but we've talked about it week after week. Aaron Rodgers doesn't look the same. You know, that's probably the problem here now. We could talk about head coach. You could talk about offensive coordinator. You could talk about the intern coach. How many other fingers can he point other than now Aaron Rodgers? You asked for Devontae Adams, you got him here, and you're still not doing it. You know what I mean? Aaron Rodgers seems like he's got happy feet out there, missing throws, not hitting guys in stride. It seems like he's disconnected from the game. John brought up a fact that he was like, you know, it's like third down is getting towards the end of the quarter or something like that. He's ready to walk off and move on. And the team wanted to still stay on the field to try and get one last play in. And he was not even connected in that whole thing. He was like, nah, yeah, whatever. You know, I'm ready to move on. It's like, what's going on here? So it's scary here with the Jets. Have they checked out right now?
Well, here's the interesting thing about it all is that it was reported that Robert Saleh, after he got fired, that's when the Jets became really serious about going after Davante Adams, which I thought was interesting to begin with. Basically pointing the finger at he was the reason why they didn't go after Adams. I don't think that was the case. It's all just fabricated just to make the firing a little easier. But getting a wide receiver, it seemed like that was the answer for them. Is they're like, oh, well, if you get Davante Adams in this offense, it's going to change everything. We're going to magically become a good offense. But really, the problem is the offensive line. I mean, yeah, you're right. Rodgers is not the same like he was before. Like, we're used to seeing Aaron Rodgers back when he was in his prime, making crazy plays, extending plays, and then still making an awesome throw. But this has been one of those weird off seasons for the Jets. Rodgers not being in camp to establish that chemistry early on. And now you get into the season. This is kind of where they're trying to develop chemistry as they play in the season, which is the wrong way to do things. And it's showing on the football field. Couple that with the fact that the offensive line can't pass protect to save their lives. And that's why Rodgers is a little shaken behind that line. Why he's not so comfortable like he used to be with Green Bay. It's because that offensive line is terrible when it comes to pass blocking. Changing the offensive coordinator to me is the right move. Todd Downing, I know him from when he was back with the Raiders calling plays. I feel like he does a good job calling plays. The only thing is the execution on the football field. So offensive line wise, that is going to be very hard. You can't correct that in the middle of the season at this point. There's no magical free agent you're going to bring in or two, and then all of a sudden the pass protection is going to be immensely better. So the Jets got to play with what they got. It's just not enough right now. And despite making all these changes, whether it be the head coach, the coordinator, changing the plays and how they do things, it's not working out for them. So they're going up against Texans now, and the Texans are one of those teams that are looking for more W's, and I think they're going to hit the Jets at the right time where they're not able to hit on all cylinders. Even though it's going to be in New York, I like the Texans in this one. I like C.J. Stroud. He was fired up 2 weeks ago. We saw him throw his helmet before in frustration, how that offense was running. They lost that game. But now, looking at a more determined team, and even though Stephon Diggs, mind you, is done for the year, by the way, he's gone. So other guys, they're still waiting on Nico Collins to return. But until then, other guys have to step up, like Tank Dell, like Xavier Hutchinson. And we'll see who else can pop up other than that. But I still got the Texans regardless.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. And, you know, like it's like what I talked about before. Teams that are good find still ways to win in facing adversity. Teams that are bad find ways to just beat themselves and things like that. And that's what the Jets do. The penalties are outrageous. We talked about with Big John with the Giants with how many just, you know, illegal formations left and right.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. But the
I gotta say though, there was definitely a play where they called it against Neighbors, but they shouldn't have. That play, he was at a stop on the opposite side of the line, then went in motion and hesitated when the snap happened, then took off. So to me, that shouldn't have been called, but there were some plays where they were very questionable.
Right.
You know what I mean? So other than that, like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And then with the Jets, again, just they've had touchdowns taken off the board because of penalties, things like that. They are, I think, the most penalized team in the NFL right now. And that's frustrating for everybody, frustrating for Rodgers too, on top of it. And you can't have that, you know, against a team that's the Houston Texans, who up and coming, a playoff caliber team. And the Jets facing the door. Like I was talking about it, and I used my Halloween style, you know, thing to it. This is the nail in the coffin for the Jets. They've dug their grave, and right here, the Houston Texans are ready to put the nail in the coffin. Sealed, signed, sealed, delivered. It's done. ready to bury the Jets right now. And then now moving forward, questions moving forward to the next offseason, what's going to happen with Aaron? What's going to happen with the Jets for the head coaching job? Well, those questions are going to start to come around with the Jets now. So I agree with you here. I think the Houston Texans are going to be able to get done here this week, but it's only going to open doors now to the offseason with the New York Jets.
Here's the crazy part. As far as Aaron Rodgers' contract goes, after 2025, it's all void years to kind of spread that guaranteed money out. But here's the kicker. Next offseason, they can only save $9 million in cap space, but they're going to have to pay a heavy debt in terms of dead money for that contract. So if they wanted to move on from him, whether it be cutting him, just flat out cutting him, they're going to save the same amount and get the same expense. Even if they were to trade him, it's going to be the same exact thing. So whatever they want to do, they're going to take a huge hit on his contract. But if they are looking to move on from him, they can. And it's not going to absolutely destroy them in terms of cap, but it is going to be a heavy price tag for sure.
All right, here we go. Next, we've got the Sunday, the Dallas Cowboys and the Atlanta Falcons. Cowboys, here we go. We talked about it before with Tyler Dunn and stuff. It looks like, the Dallas Cowboys struggling. They're terrible in running the football. Offense not running on all cylinders again here. Dak Prescott not looking very good too. The Dallas Cowboys were able to get some pass pressure, which I thought was interesting too. I thought Mike Zimmer did really well facing the 49ers. But 49ers actually looked a little better here too. Brock Purdy, not as many mistakes here, but Dallas Cowboys, they're struggling now. They're looking at, getting, if it wasn't for the Giants being so bad, the Cowboys could be facing, looking at dead last here, but struggling against now an Atlanta Falcons team who was able to get a strong win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a very hard fought game. First off, the Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers looked pretty strong. Like they were going to do all right without having Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. But then, Atlanta was able to edge them out in the end. But now Atlanta's got to face the Dallas Cowboys, who are looking desperate for a win. Their coach's job probably is laying on the line here with this one. So this is a tough one here in Atlanta with the Dallas Cowboys, Joe, in an away game.
Yeah, the Cowboys have been desperate for a win for weeks. Like this team just can't get it together. Even though you got CeeDee Lamb complaining about getting the ball, then Dak said, "Oh no, we're still good. We talked about it. We're fine." You see the turmoil growing in that locker room right now. Some people are pointing the finger at Dak. Dak is trying to just keep it as together as possible. The fact that you just brought up the fact that they can't run the ball and they still continue to. Now they resorted to calling up Dalvin Cook to debut last week, and that didn't work out. So it really comes down to your run blocking up front, which has been lacking, let's face it, and then the caliber of running backs that you have are just not good enough. They're not good enough players. So Cowboys are going to continue to struggle to run the ball. And in turn, that's going to hurt this offense because you need both in this style of offense for Mike McCarthy and what he likes to call. He needs both to work in order for it all to come together. And so far, it's not happening. Now, the only positive that you can take from this week is maybe we get to see Micah Parsons this week, maybe to complete the set on defense. But I don't know, man. This Cowboys team doesn't give me very much confidence. And even when, like last week, they showed, highlights of kind of being in the game, and I'm like, all right, well, who knows? Maybe this is the week. So the Falcons have been kind of, I'm not going to say the same, but when you expect them to win, they lose in dramatic fashion. And when you like give up on them, they surprise you. So Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, maybe they can be a little bit more consistent as we go throughout the rest of the season. I'm looking for them I want consistency from Atlanta.
Yes.
I want them to prove to everybody out there that's not a Falcons fan, like, hey, no, we are here to compete. We are for real, and we are going to push for the playoff games there. So I'm going to go with Atlanta in this one. just because they actually can run the ball, they can throw the ball, they can do every aspect of offense that the Cowboys can't so far. So I'm going to go with them and the fact that both teams have good defenses, but I'm going to give the edge to the offense in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one here for me. Atlanta, like you said, they've been kind of off. I would like to hope that they can just stick with feeding the ball to Kyle Pitts some more, not just on National Tight Ends Day. And for him to even think more with taking control of the ball when he was going to cross over into the end zone. We saw that a few different times with a few different teams. People
Yes.
very nonchalant with that ball getting across the end zone again. I mean, as have people seen Deshaun Jackson before, you know what I mean? Go back and watch plays like that. Yes, you know what I mean? That stuff will bite you. So I'm concerned here with that. I'm worried.
I get it.
I'm not sure what's going to go on with Atlanta. I feel like Dallas has been on the fringe so many different times that I think this is the one that they could finally come back and get a victory here because of Atlanta. They do kind of sleep on teams like this. So I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys on this one to come back and get a victory, especially if Micah Parsons is able to play. And that last game that they played against the 49ers, you wonder, it's no wonder why the 49ers have given up points in the ends of games. It seems like a defense, if they get a sniff of a lead, the offense has like gotten them something. It seems like they just go in shutdown mode and free zone. Like, here we go. And they seem, there's so many Dallas Cowboy receivers in those last 2 touchdown drives or whatever. It was too easy. Like, it was pitch and catch with CeeDee Lamb. Talk about never getting the ball. Dude, he was wide open so many times within the last 7 minutes of the game that they were just coming right back easily. And the 49ers are like, oh, man, we got to be able to get a stop here. I was watching this and so frustrated with the 49ers defense. And I'm like, you guys are doing it again, time and time again. Stick to the game plan. Stick to the plan, you know?
Well, you're right. It's stick to the game plan, and this can be said for every team in the NFL. Whenever you have a lead and you start to give up yards on defense, and you're allowing that team to basically get back into the game if they get a score or two. Like that's
Right.
what bothers me about defensive coordinators. Now this falls onto them. It's not the players. They're not the one calling the plays.
Right.
So the defensive coordinator needs to step up and be like, hey, let's just do what we have been doing all game long, and we're gonna smack them around and win. Like, end the drive. Don't play to lose, because that's what sometimes offenses do. They're like, oh, run. Okay, we didn't get the first down. Now we got to punt. Don't play to lose, play to win. And that goes for defensive coordinators out there. So don't go to prevent. We saw Chicago Bears do that this past week. They went to a prevent defense, and everybody's questioning them. Why'd you go to prevent? Well, we keep the ball. No, play the same way. If you've been dominating in the game on defense, continue to do that.
Yeah.
Don't go into a shell. So I agree with you, Jim. Team's got to just put the nail in the coffin.
Put the nail in the coffin. That's right. There you go. All right. The Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills here. We talked about Miami, talked about Buffalo being scary. Miami, again, got Tua back. They definitely play better, with him in there. Devin Achane, too, was making some plays there, too, on top of it.
He actually scored over 10 points.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know. And, but again, not enough, though. We believed in them, but Arizona, how about Arizona in the drive? And we talked about Arizona, and they almost made my scary teams kind of too, because the way they've been playing as of late, and even throughout the season, they kind of hang in there, but that's not putting up enough points, and that defense still being a little leaky. But they're not supposed to be competitive like they're kind of doing right now. That's the funny thing. That's why I thought they could be potentially kind of scary, but I was like, yeah, are they really going to do anything though? You know what I mean? So for me, again, they're more like they're just like a surprise team. Like, wow, look at these guys, huh? But able to edge out the Miami Dolphins here. And the Buffalo Bills, like they're playing on all cylinders. Like we said, they're going to be playing in Buffalo. Miami's it just looks a little sluggish again. There's even been discussions with Mike McDaniels, on how he's handled the team and his winning loss record here with the team so far, with the talent that they've had. They haven't beat any playoff caliber teams at all last season. Same thing this season. So how good are they really? You know what I mean? And what's the problem? And this is what we're going to be facing this season too, and against this game here. So this is a team they need to beat to kind of show where they are, and if they are a competitive team, to get back in this division here and make a playoff run. But Buffalo at home right now, it's so tough.
I got to answer this. You want to know what the problem is? Defense. Their defense is not good. Their defense is okay. It's not good. They don't have enough of the players needed, especially pass rushers. It seems like, all their Jalen Phillips constantly getting injured every single year. How long is he going to be out? Is he done for the year? Like every single season, there's big question marks on that defensive line. And just when you think that the Dolphins D is coming together and it looks good, guys are dropping like flies. And then there's no recourse to pick up a free agent soon enough or make a trade to try to keep the ball rolling here. And that's really what's killing them. It's not their offense. Their offense is amazing, especially if they had some kind of a defense to give them the ball, give them a little bit more opportunities to score. That's where I see the Dolphins right now. It's like they can score with the best of them, but can they stop any of the best of them? That's the issue.
Yeah, definitely. So look at him right here, though. I think Buffalo's a tough team to beat, especially at home right now. I like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to ram out the Dolphins. The Buffalo Bills, we talked about it earlier in the show about how Amari Cooper has really blossomed and opened up this offense. And Josh Allen is saying, thank you, God, for sending me Cooper, because now we can get back on track as a playoff caliber team and not just a team in question. Defensively does have to step up. Big John mentioned it earlier in the show. Run defense is lacking. Can they step up against bigger and better opponents? That we're going to have to wait to see later in the season. But as of right now, that offense is humming. It's going to be tough. Honestly, this could be a shootout. Honestly, like Dolphins, Bills could end up being a shootout. But I think the Bills are going to win in the end.
All right, here we go. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati, man, that's got to be frustrating for them too, because again, they're just hanging tight with so many different teams and can't edge out the win. And I know some people even wanted to point at some of the mistakes last week, Joe Burrow throwing a pick and stuff. But when you're down, trying to get back in the game, that's what ends up happening a lot of times here. Right. And I knew that game was going to be tight here. I wasn't sure which way to go on that one. It could have gone either way. And what we did learn is, again, that defense couldn't stop the run. Again, Saquon Barkley doing his thing. We said this about that defense. Moving on from Jesse Bates and the talent that they've lost on the back end, it's making a difference right now. And that's where they're losing. And that's another team where almost you feel like, I think even Cincinnati fans have asked for this out there in social media. Help Trey Hendrickson out. Go make another trade. You make a trade and go get another pass rusher. Maybe you get Ojulari or something like that. Get some more pressure here and help that defense. So then maybe if you're getting pressure quicker, the secondary doesn't have to cover so long or whatever, and that might help the defensive end out here. What do you think about that?
I honestly don't think it's a pass rusher problem. Trey Hendrickson, they have Sam Hubbard on the other side who's having a pretty good year for them. I think it's more about the interior of the D-line. That's really what's really lacking. After DJ Reader moves on and goes to Houston, they didn't really replace him. They got a couple of young guys that they're hoping is going to pan out, but it's just not working. They need a dominant D tackle. Like if they were able to somehow get a high echelon type of D tackle, just steal them from somebody. I don't care what kind of draft pick you got to give up, because if you plan on getting into the playoffs, you're going to need them anyway. So Bengals, they should be picking up the phone and maybe calling some of these teams that they possibly could get a decent D tackle to insert them into this defense, because that to me is really what's lacking. Is that D line is just not good enough. especially in the interior. Outside, I think they're fine. Sam Hubbard, T.J. Hendrickson, like they're fine there. But I will say this too, though, is that the linebacking core hasn't stepped up and is playing as well as they used to either. So I think it's a collective issue for this defense. Not so much we can just point the finger, it's D-tackle, and that's it. But this team has to play better as a unit. Until they do that, I feel like they're going to continue to struggle at points, depending on who they're playing. But it's not going to be this week. Let me tell you, Las Vegas Raiders, it's a giveaway W sale in Las Vegas. That's right. If you show up against the Raiders, we're going to give you a W. We're just that fucking nice. We just give W's away. And that's what's going to happen in this game. They don't have a quarterback. It's evident. Gardner Minshew, if you saw any part of that game, God bless you for one, because you saw some pretty horrible football. But Gardner Minshew is scared out there. That's what he looks like to me. He doesn't look like he wants to play anymore. He just doesn't feel like being out there. You don't see any of the tenacity that he had when he was with the Colts. Like fired up, like trying to make plays. He just doesn't want to be there. And guess what? Who knows? They signed Desmond Ridder last week. Maybe he's up to speed where Desmond Ridder might get the call and see what he can do. But the only positives you could take away on this offense is the fact that Jacoby Myers is healthy and actually had a pretty good game. Other than that, it's a terrible offense. And defensively, even though they might keep the game close and they're going to do everything that they can, it's just not going to be enough because the offense can't score points. Bengals win this one, hands down.
Yeah, I like the Bengals here on this one as well. All right, the Chargers.
No way.
Right, I know, right? I know, surprise. The Chargers here and the Cleveland Browns Chargers, strung together a few wins here now. The Cleveland Browns got a win after what should have been an interception to end the game here.
God.
Kyle Hamilton just dropping an easy one. That's what sucks sometimes, and it happens to the best. I mean, these guys are professional players out there, and some of these guys still drop things like that. Famous Jameis able to go deep and get a win.
Wow.
I think that's more of a fluke than, fantastic, with Jameis, and now they're turning a corner. I don't see that happening. I think Cleveland still is in rough shape here. Although I still think even now with having, a healthy running back here, they're going to keep this tighter just because the way the Chargers are even designed in this one. But I'm going to tip the cap to the Chargers on this one just because I think Justin Herbert has the ability to turn this game out here and
do something. He's just going to do something,
better
guys.
than Jameis
That's
Winston.
it.
Yeah,
he's just going to do something. It's going to be better than Jameis.
Exactly.
I think everybody in Cleveland has definitely drank the Kool-Aid. They love Winston now. He's the savior of Cleveland. That's what you heard early on before Watson got hurt. They were just chumming up and hoping that Winston would get in. And now here he is. He's getting famous Jameis, as I like to call him, is now taken over, and everybody loves him. It's throwing for just over 300 yards, making one hell of a pass for a touchdown to Cedric Tillman. Nobody knows who the hell Cedric Tillman is, but the last couple of weeks, if you're paying attention to fantasy, this is a guy that you must have on your roster because in 2 straight weeks, over 100 yards, getting scores. Just saying. But against the Chargers, this is a team like Jim just mentioned. They're a team that likes to run the clock out, score at the end of long drives, and if need be, they have Justin Herbert who can throw the ball. Defensively is kind of where I'm questioning the Chargers. Like Joey Bosa, I think he's getting healthy to the point where we might see him this week. Again, this is being filmed on Tuesday, so we have no injury report until tomorrow. That's the other thing that makes this kind of difficult to pick games. But all in all, something tells me that I'm going to regret this. But I'm going to eat some W's with Jameis.
Oh, man, there we go.
The Cleveland Browns are going to upset the Chargers this week.
Wow. Okay, we'll see. Next we got the New England Patriots. And with Joe, we talked about this game with the Jets last week.
Yes,
They're like, this is the perfect team to play, to try and write it because the Patriots weren't exactly there. And we said, but who knows? And there you go. The Jets did not pull out the victory. The Patriots get it. I think they were going to win even if Drake May stayed healthy and stayed in the game because I think they were playing well with Drake May was there and he was running around making plays with his legs. And then Jacoby Brissett and just came in and sealed the deal.
You know what? It was one of those things like we talked about it. And as we're talking about it, like, do I pick the Patriots? Do I actually do that? But I was like, I don't know. I think the Jets should win this one. But
right.
It's so funny how it works out.
And then, yep. So now there you go. The Patriots, here they are, Tennessee. And again, Tennessee, how about Tennessee playing with Mason Rudolph? Rudolph's not looking half bad there either for the Titans even right now at this point.
Not bad. Yeah, not without Hopkins. You know what I mean? Like, this is like one of those things where Tennessee, I'm like, what the hell is Tennessee Titans right now? Like, we don't even know. Like, Will Levis, obviously they're still waiting for him to come back from injury, but even when he comes back, like, are you really going to put him right back into the lineup the way Mason Rudolph is playing? Like, I think you should hold off a little bit just to see maybe you have something going with Rudolph here, So the Titans defense, they're another part of the equation where they're actually elated now that they're actually putting points up. They're showing up in games. This game, though, this is another one of those games where it's like just like last week where Patriots, Titans, they're kind of on an even playing field here. They're both teams that have struggled so far this season. Both teams haven't had the greatest of luck in terms of injuries. So who's going to show up in this one?
Yeah, I know. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, the same exact question. Tennessee does play really well at home here, but I'm not sure. I'm sold in on Mason Rudolph even too as a leader here for this team. And I'm maybe buying in New England, especially if Drake May is able to come back though. But
we won't know until tomorrow to see.
Right.
We got to wait and see tomorrow to see an injury report.
It seems like again that team always still fights here for their head coach and things like that, and they were making a lot of big plays.
Did you hear
last
Did you
week.
Did you hear about how Gerard Mayo's comment about his team soft? And it got out, and then the media took it by storm, and then it was like the team just destroyed the Jets. I mean, they didn't blow them out or anything, but you could tell physically that they were trying to prove a point.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, I feel like, too, if the Patriots got Drake May or the quarterback, like another receiver, that would only help because some of these receivers, and Kendrick Bourne, he's okay, but he's not the greatest. And these guys were there's so many dropped passes that were easy first downs, things like that. I mean, that kills drives. You're right there moving the chains right there. And that's why I feel like Drake May had to take off running a bunch of different times to try and make some plays, ultimately getting injured, falling down. But he got blasted in the back of the head though, too. I don't know if exactly that was a intentional cheap shot or something like that, just because he ended up, I think, going down head first, and then got slammed. No, did he slide? I can't remember, but I know he got hit from behind in the head, but I don't think it was exactly intentional by the Jets to kind of spear him down and aim at the head. I think they were just trying to take him out for a tackle, but I feel like the New England Patriots, if you gave Drake May just another weapon, they would be that much better though, and that much more competitive.
And to your point, though, with this team, they are looking, and to your point, they are looking, and I'm talking in terms of trade. They're looking for an offensive lineman, a wide receiver at the moment, maybe even a defensive lineman. So they are on the phones currently, hoping to see like what is out there and available, and maybe they might pull off a trade before the deadline. So we'll wait to see if that does in fact happen, and it would be amazing if they were able to get another wide receiver by chance, just like you're mentioning.
Yep. I know John and I had talked about trading away Darius Slay here for the or Darius Slayton for the the New York Giants, do you think he would be on the move somewhere?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I would
Mhm.
get rid of him if it was up to me.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I would
Mhm.
trade him away and try to get some kind of draft compensation. Because
Right.
for the Giants anyway, that this upcoming draft is going to be about rebuilding this team even more. Like,
Mhm.
you're going to need offensive linemen. You're going to need another wide receiver. It can't just be neighbors, and then that's it.
Yes. Yeah.
You haven't see what you have in Jalen Hyatt. That to me would be the rest of the season. You should trade Slayton
Mhm.
and put Hyatt out there and let him play the whole rest of the season. That'll tell you right there, is he going to earn the job and take it over, or is he going to falter? And now you have your definitive answer.
Right.
He's never going
Yeah.
to be anything, and let's
Answer
move on
some
and get another
questions.
receiver.
All right.
Yeah,
So we went a lot of different places here with this one,
That's
but
right.
ultimately, I think I'm going to go with the Patriots. Is basically what I was saying on this one. I think they still have enough to win.
Yeah.
But I think if they made some moves, they can actually be a lot better.
Yeah, this is just a crazy game for me. Like,
It's tough. You just flip a coin.
it's one of those things where like you're torn. So like, I hope Drake May is healthy to play in this game, because I just think that he's going to take the Patriots to another level, especially in this game where you're not facing an opponent that is like really good, but you're facing an opponent that's starting to kind of get a little competition in their way. So give me the Patriots in this one. I know I didn't pick them last week, but I'm going to pick them this week against the Titans to get that win.
All right, next we got the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens here. Denver's defense is really good too. The offense is getting a little better here.
True.
So I mean, I was looking at them potentially being a one of the they're an honorable mention maybe for scary teams. But Baltimore again, they go and get Deontay Johnson. I was talking to John about it. Again, I think they picked him up. That's fine, but I don't think it's really a big major addition.
They got themselves another Zay Flowers, basically.
Yeah.
They got themselves another quick, fast dude that catches the ball. But Zay Flowers is better. So they made a trade for a guy who might not even see much of the field, honestly.
Right.
Unless he's going to take over Rashad Bateman's job.
Yep. Right.
To me, it's a weird move to me.
It was a weird trade altogether, because they gave up a 6th and they've got Deontay Johnson in a 7th. So I don't know. It just seems weird. It just seemed really weird. It's like, did you really make yourself better, or what did you really do? So you basically got another receiver and a 7th rounder. Huh.
We didn't plan on using that draft pick anyway, so we figured just get rid of it and get a player.
Yeah, get a player, right? So Baltimore, though, at home, I mean, they're I don't think they're going to suffer 2 losses in a row. Baltimore. I think this is going to be a tough defensive game here. Both running backs, I'm excited to see, or both running backs, both quarterbacks, I'm excited to see on the field at the same time, because I feel like both of them are going to do a lot of scrambling. But I think ultimately I like the Derrick Henry, man. Feed King Henry. Just dude, smash, and that'll kill that. The Broncos here offense here. Just keep them out there. Wear out that defense here. You ride the hand of Derrick Henry here. Then it opens up for Lamar. I like the Baltimore Ravens in this one.
That's the thing. As good as the Broncos defense is, it's really good against the pass. It's not that great against the run. And what do the Ravens do very well? Run. Whether it be with Derrick Henry or Lamar Jackson or somebody else, like, the Broncos are going to have their hands full. I know they're going to play up in their face, much like the Ravens do defensively, very physical, up in your face, make you get pressured and rush, maybe perhaps rush a throw here and there, maybe make a mistake. But this is going to be a very good defensive game, I think, on both ends. I don't think, however, Bo Nix is going to be able to have a whole lot of time when it comes to throwing the ball. So I think that's kind of like where the change is here. Like, I think this is going to be a close game, probably closer than people anticipate. I mean, for God's sakes, if the Raiders can go to Baltimore with Gardner Minshew and win the freaking game, the Broncos with Bo Nix and the way this defense is playing, I think it does definitely gives the Denver Broncos a shot to beat Baltimore. But the way Baltimore's playing right now, they're playing much better than when the Raiders played them. I think the Ravens got this on lock. Give me Baltimore.
All right, the Washington Commanders at the New York Giants. Giants again find more ways to just beat themselves. And the Washington Commanders just believe in everything. Believe in their quarterback. The dude, again, did get injured. Yes, he is frail, but he's tough. He's taping. He came in, wasn't expected even to play. You know, got the rib injury. Plays anyways. Right ahead, takes a big hit.
Ooh,
Ace Rapid. Ace Rapid, baby. Here we go. Keep the bones inside and let's go. And then there you go. Not quitting, making the big play at the game at the end. Oh my goodness, man. It was ecstatic. I can't stand the Commanders. I do not want to root for them, but that play happened. And I'm watching TV up in my bedroom, and I think the whole house heard me screaming, like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. Oh my gosh. I could not believe it. I could not believe that at all, that happened like that. It was nuts.
Oh, I know it.
It was nuts, but that's why we live for those plays, though. You know what I mean? The Hail Mary pass. But Washington, they're just playing well right now. And yes, the defense isn't as good as some of these other teams, like we talked about, it being scary, but they're playing better than I thought. I mean, look at a season ago, traded away Montez Sweat, to the Chicago Bears, things like that, trying to unload some stuff to get some picks. So
Chase Young was also a guy that got traded away.
Same thing, but you bring Dan Quinn in, and look at the difference that even just him, a defensive-minded coach, can do with this team. And I think they're making enough plays to do it. You know what I mean? And this offense is just explosive on top of it. So it's the first time I think that this team has kind of played complementary football together as a whole. And this is the results that you get, you know what I mean? And they're not making mistakes. You look at a team on the other side, the Giants making mistakes everywhere. And yes, I even get the motion and things like that. Yeah. And the illegal formation here and there, but that 2-point conversion thing, even at the end too, I'm like, come on, bro. What the hell was that? And I joked around with John about it. I'm like, okay, they might have practiced this 2-point conversion in camp and practice, stuff like that. But when was the last time that they actually scored a touchdown? So when were they actually going to be able to use it? So they probably haven't practiced it in a while. You know what I'm saying? So we can't score a touchdown. So we're stop practicing this for a while. So they're not a very good team. They're facing this team. I mean, maybe the defense trying to keep them in it at first or whatever, because we do have some good pass rushers here making some plays. I know Dexy's going to get in there. I know Brian Burns is going to make some plays. Ojulari, you know what I mean? But Washington overall, just a better team. So I'm going to go with the Commanders on this one.
Yep. Brian Burns, the list goes on. Like that team, especially up front. And even you have to include the linebacking core too, which I think is very underrated. I don't think if people give the Giants defense their credit. Everyone talks about the D-line, but that linebacking core is pretty darn solid. And what is it? Micah McFadden?
Micah McFadden, I
love that dude. That dude is sideline to sideline, always near the football, making plays. Secondary, that's a whole other issue in itself. That to me is just, they use a high draft pick on Deonte Banks. We gave him the benefit of the doubt last year, saying, well, he's a rookie, he's going to get better. Here's his second year. What the hell is he doing? Like, he's not playing physical, I understand. Listen, I get it. If you got a guy who's twice your size with the ball and he's running your direction, I get it. You're not going to be able to take him on head up, but the least you can do is try to take his legs out or something. Like, you got to do something. You can't just avoid hits because of it. And we saw that a couple times where it almost looked like he put himself in position, but not in position, if that makes sense. Like, he was in the camera view, but didn't try to make the play. So that being said, though, the Giants, their offense, it just doesn't have enough. Daniel Jones, clearly the Giants have already made their decision on him last year, because they wouldn't have even attempted to trade up to get a quarterback this past draft if Daniel Jones was their guy. So we know the direction that the Giants want to head. They want a different quarterback, but right now they're stuck with Daniel Jones. This team is just not executing. It's simply not. Too many penalties, like you just mentioned, Jim. It happens every week to them, and it's not getting any better. That all being said, with Washington, they are the direct opposite of the Giants' offense. They are hitting on all cylinders. They are playing at an extremely high level, and Jaden Daniels is the key piece to that. Defensively, though, Washington, I got to agree with Big John earlier in the show. He brought it up about the fact that defense is it's good, but it's not good enough to be like a playoff caliber defense. And that right there is kind of what I think this game, Washington and the Giants, it's going to be decided in the trenches. If that Giants D-line can get a lot of pressure on Jaden Daniels, can contain him and make him force some throws, maybe make a mistake or two. Hell, even if he is playing, we don't even know, because after that hard shot, he might be bothered all week to where he might be out this week. And then Marcus Mariota will be the quarterback. So that all being said, we don't know what the injury report is going to end up being on Friday, but we're anticipating that Jaden Daniels, at the very least, is going to be ready. If not, Marcus Mariota is going to take over. And I still think, even if Mariota is the quarterback, that the Washington team will still execute on offense and get the win there.
All right. Yeah, and even when you talk about Deontay Banks here, John thinks, again, they're going to – well, they even said it, I think Brian Daboll had said, yeah, all right, we benched him for the game, whatever, but he's going to start next game. So it's like almost kind of show him again, here you go, you got benched, step up next game or whatever. But I think Greg Stroman, when he came in too, he was wrapping up, and given the opportunity, he was tackling every single time.
Yes.
Not missing, what I mean, and things like that. So I would have just said, screw it, throw him in there, let him miss a full start.
Like, hey, Deontay, take notes, bud. You see what he's doing? You see how hard he's playing? Just go sit down. He's going to be the starter next week. That would send a clear message to Deontay, not just because he got benched last week, but keep him out this week
and
allow that corner to have a full start. And if he outplays Deontay, sorry, bro, you lost your job.
Yep, I agree too. All right, next we've got the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers here. Saints, like you've said before, starting to get a little healthier. Carolina Panthers, again, playing better. So, he did all right. I think at the beginning of that game, Bryce Young did, so he was trying.
Yeah. When he went 8 of 10, you're like, oh, maybe he learned a few things, and then it just went downhill after that.
Yeah.
Now you look at that team now, and I'm assuming, we don't know, obviously, that we talk about the injury report because this is on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But we don't know the status of Andy Dalton, if he's going to be healthy enough to play this week. Obviously, him and his family suffered a major car accident last week. That's why he was out last week. Does that continue into this week? We're not sure. I don't foresee it happening, but even if it does, I mean, this Carolina Panthers team, they play hard, but again, I just don't think they have enough pieces. Now they move on and trade Deontay Johnson, who was kind of like their go-to guy in essence. And now I think Adam Thielen is going to make a return this week. That's what it sounds like anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Yeah.
Old man Adam Thielen's still out there running routes, but he's not going deep. So your offense might be limited in that aspect. So regardless of the quarterback, I think that's going to be a challenge for them. And as far as the Saints go, Derek Carr has an opportunity to return this week. If Derek Carr, in fact, does, I feel like that's going to give a huge advantage to the Saints. So with Chris Olave now healthy there, and some of the other younger wide receivers like Bob Means and what have you, I feel like that would be, if in fact Carr is playing, that's going to give a huge advantage for the Saints. I think they kind of get back on track. This could be one of those games for them where New Orleans, it's not going to be easy because no game's easy, but just saying, if Carr's there, it definitely this offense runs better under his leadership. So I'm going to bet on the fact that Carr returns, and if Carr is in fact there, I think the Saints will get the win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you too. The Saints here too. Overall, I just think even at this point, even they're still better than Carolina. Carolina's got a lot of stuff going on, and like you said, they even traded Deontay Johnson, so they're selling. You know, they're not buying. So I mean, they got to figure out
That's the
stuff.
crazy. Yeah, that's the crazy part is that they sent Deontay Johnson away, but then teams were calling about possibly their corner J.C. Horn. And the Panthers like, oh no, we're not going to trade him. So I'm confused. Are you guys having a fire sale or just pretending to have one?
Yeah. And Adam Thielen, I think he's been more effective getting people to register to vote than actually what he's done on the field this season. So, yeah, that's right. Hey, what you guys gotta do is vote. All right, here we go. Jacksonville Jaguars and the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah,
Where do we start? Where do we start in this one?
Where do we start? Man, and that defense
could this be
made some plays, but again, Trevor Lawrence again, Joe. I'm almost on where you are now with this whole thing. I've given Trevor Lawrence a benefit of a doubt bunch of different times. Too much again, and now he just looks like Daniel Jones 2.0 at this point. You know what I mean?
With long hair. He's got long hair.
With long hair. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it sucks for them because again, you go draft him number 1 overall, supposed to be the savior for the team, and he's not helping you at all. You know what I mean? So Jacksonville, they're ready to end up firing their head coach. Philadelphia, they're one of my scary teams. I think Jacksonville, this is one of the teams that's easy enough to beat. Philadelphia running all cylinders. They're at home. It's going to be dangerous. The crowd is going to be throwing shit at the Jaguars. Saquon's going to be running all day long. He's going to be eating. I just like Philadelphia in this one all day.
I mean,
hey, we got to see the Philly, the brotherly shove. He's making a comeback, Joe. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't think it's making a comeback. You can't do it without Jason Kelce.
You couldn't. It doesn't look as good. It doesn't look as good as now. No, it doesn't.
Doesn't count. I don't care. Jason Kelce for president. That's all I got to say. But no, like the Eagles, this is kind of like one of those. This should be. Now I got to say this. This should be an easy win. It should. Yep. But if anything has taught us this season, just when we think it's a surefire, dead giveaway win, the NFL throws a curveball to us. But the Jaguars, I definitely see them losing in this one. I don't have a lot of confidence in this team. I didn't from week 1, and I still don't now. And could this possibly be the week that Doug Peterson gets fired? It could be after this loss. It's getting down to towards the second part of the season where all hope is lost. Let's fire the head coach and look forward to the next offseason. Eagles win.
All right, here we go. Chicago Bears and Arizona Cardinals. This one doesn't look so cut and dry now. I think this is going to be a fun matchup here. Because also, like when I was talking about it with, we were talking with Big John about it too.
Big John.
He had said the same thing. Like, well, he notices things with Caleb Williams and the Bears again, and like you said, his mannerisms even afterwards and stuff like that. Facial features, reactions to some of the things. Like almost like, man, I can't believe that's not going right, or kind of like, oh, really? It's like, and it's not like, hey, that's on me or whatever, or this and that. Right. Things like he's kind of like, what, really, man? Like, come on, it's like, and it's kind of, whatever, it blows off. Did like
you
that.
See
and that's
his face at the end of that game when they completed that Hail Mary? He was all smiles and everything beforehand. He thinks he has it in the bag, and then when that happened, his face went from happy to, I hate this freaking team. Where's my helmet?
He was looking for his mom. He had to jump into the stands and cry with his mommy.
Yeah, I was wondering, the camera didn't follow him all the way. I was hoping
he was
like if he went to the stands or found mommy in the tunnel and started crying like he did at USC. But I don't know. I still question his immaturity. I still question his leadership. And obviously, if you ask anybody in Chicago, they're gonna fight you on that. But But yeah,
He
it's
definitely
gonna
made some
be
plays when some plays broke down and things like that, but still
true.
nothing lighting
True.
it up again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And listen, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago about how Caleb's going to come back down to earth. That team is
Mm-hmm.
going to come back down to earth, and it started last week. Yes, I'll say this: Washington honestly almost gave that game away because they actually had the game and they let Chicago get back into it. But now going into this part of the schedule, you're not facing a very easily winnable Arizona Cardinals. This is a team that has surprised even us this year, defensively, offensively. I'll say this: Kyler Murray is playing better than I thought he would, but I still think this offense needs to get the ball into Marvin Harrison Jr.'s hands more.
Yeah.
We see some of the opportunities are there, but then there are times that he's dropping the ball. Let's say what it is. But again, get him more opportunities because that's what this offense should be going through. It should be going through him first and then trickle down effect. But we'll see if that changes this week going up against Chicago, which, by the way, two very good defenses on both sides. Offensively, I give the edge to Arizona in this one. Obviously experience with Kyler Murray and the fact that he is so fast as a quarterback. It's funny because he looks like a toddler with a bobblehead when he runs. That's what he looks like. And it's hilarious. So if you get a chance to see this game, let's see if Kyler Murray runs, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But this is in Arizona against Chicago. I think this is going to be a close game, but I got to give the Cardinals here. I have more faith in Kyler Murray in that offense than I do Chicago. So give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I think it's tough too because I think defensively, I think the Bears have it, but like you said, I think it's going to be tough with trying to stop Kyler Murray. He's going to be able to scramble around, get out, make some plays, and like you said, Marvin Harrison, it'd be nice to get him more involved and things like that too. But I think the Bears are going to try and lock that down the best that they can here. And I feel like Trey McBride's going to have another day. I feel like they're going to dish it down to the tight end, and I think that's going to be a key moment for them here.
I'm glad you brought up Trey McBride because he's been doing this all year long. This guy has been basically the number one receiver, basically, for this team. He's getting double-digit touches every single week. He's a very prominent part of this offense. And Kyler Murray, honestly, is a security blanket. So you're right. Trey McBride might yet again have a huge game.
Yep. Yeah. And if you look at some of the games that they've played, again, tight games with the 49ers, they edge out the 49ers here. Get destroyed by the Commanders, I hear there, but a tight one with the Lions, tight one with the Rams, and then the Buffalo Bills, so a little tougher here though too. But Chicago, they haven't really beat anybody either, so this is a tough one for me. I think Chicago defensively is going to try and shut it down, but I think I'm believing the same thing you are. I think Arizona is going to shock the world, I think, in a sense here, seeing how much everybody's high on Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. I think Arizona is going to pull out the victory here at home.
We knew who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Yeah, let them off the hook. Yep. All right, next we got the Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers here. This is going to be an exciting game now. Now, is Jordan Love going to be healthy enough to play, though? That's the key here for this game. It's funny to see Malik Willis, though, come into the game, and he adds a different type of feel to the game, more with his legs. Again, that's the thing. You haven't really trusted him with his arm back when he was with the Titans, and they're not asking him to do that. Right. And they can't really, they haven't asked him to do a whole lot with that too, with the Green Bay Packers. And that's the thing with, which is good with having Josh Jacobs here in the backfield. I mean, because that's what you saw when Jordan Love went down. They're like, all right, Malik, just get out there. Oh, there's nothing there. Take out and run. Okay. Now people, are thinking that you're going to take off and run, hand it off to Josh Jacobs, then he's going to run. So, I mean, that keeps them people guessing and keeps them balanced, I think, in this whole thing too. So I think that's going to be positive for the Green Bay Packers to keep them competitive in this game. I like their defense on top of it, but I like the Detroit Lions in this one. Although I think this is going to be closer than some of their games of late has going to be. And it ain't going to be a 40-something point thing here. This is going to be a lot tighter of a game. We're going to see what the Lions are made of here. But with Ben Johnson, I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to this one. And I talked about this with John. After the season's over, I wouldn't be surprised. And if I'm the Jets, I'm saying forget the coaching staff right now. Get Ben Johnson in the house. Do whatever it takes. Don't let him leave.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that would love Ben Johnson, and he turned down 2 jobs last offseason. So it's not going to be up to how bad the teams want him. They could give him all the money in the world. But if he doesn't want to go there, he's not going there. So Ben Johnson has the he has the ability to really pick and choose wherever he's going to go. Regardless of, you already know that teams are lining up and all want him that might have a head coaching vacancy this upcoming offseason. But it's going to be up to Ben Johnson if A, he wants to leave, and 2, wherever he wants to go is where he's going to go. So I understand Jets would be smart to go ahead and grab him no matter what the cost. But Ben Johnson is in the driver's seat of everything. So I'll be interested to see if and when Ben does go to a team where it's at. So that to me will be very curious for me.
Now, what about this matchup here?
It will not be to the Packers. The Packers, Matt LaFleur loves his quarterback and Jordan Love loves Matt LaFleur. However, there is a potential that Love does not play in this game, like Jim alluded to. I don't know. This offense to me looks very college-esque when Malik Willis is in there, just like Jim mentioned. Run with your legs, then we're going to hand it off. I don't know. Obviously it does not run as well as when Love is in there, obviously. So that being said, if there is a tendency of what it may look like at the end of the week where they may go Willis because he's got them a couple wins before when Love was out. So if they don't feel like rushing Love back or if he's not ready, they're going to rock with Willis. And I think that's going to be a very big mistake against a pivotal matchup in the division against a red-hot Detroit Lions team that is not only playing outstanding offensively, but also defensively surprisingly well. So, and they continue to get better every single week. So this Lions team to me just can't be stopped right now. Like you look at the last 3 weeks of them playing, and they're putting up stats like no other team out there in the league. Jared Goff, do I hear MVP race? I think I do. And this Lions team is for real. The only game that I can't wait to see happen again is the Vikings game, because that was right down to the wire and only a few points separated them. But this matchup here, whether they're with Love, he may be banged up if he plays, or without Love, give me the Detroit Lions going into Green Bay, mind you, and getting a win.
All right. Next, the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of people calling out Geno Smith now. Here it is. Here comes the Geno haters now. Again, here he goes. Yeah. They're calling him, hey, it's G. No. So Seattle, again, I think they stay competitive a lot of times, but the Rams, they kind of surprised me last week. I wasn't sure what to expect. We heard about rumors of Cooper Kupp going, but didn't matter. Puka Nacua, hello, showing back up. I'm back, baby, and had a night. Oh, my gosh. And it wasn't even close. The dude just was lighting it up here.
So much for a pitch count.
Right? Yeah, so much for a pitch count. Right?
Yeah, you kept seeing him go in and out of the lineup, but you're like, he's doing that very often. Like It's not like he's just staying out for like a whole series and then back the next. No, he was in and out like quite often, and then Cooper Kupp, and him being out there too. Like that just goes to show you, like if you watched our previous episode where we talked about the Rams, are they in? Are they out? Are they done? But we talked about it, how once these weapons come back, this offense is a completely different offense. It is a in-your-face, attack down the football field, put points on the board, let our defense handle the rest. And that's what they prove to everybody. They are not done it now. In fact, they're just getting back into the race again.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually going to continue this week, where they're going to take on the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. And I think the Rams are going to get the W here.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, you just look at overall talent on the field, coaching, everything. Seattle, again, they've been competitive. They've done it for the last couple of seasons here. I think now Geno is kind of showing that he's just not even the guy to get them farther. And the Rams, they've got Matthew Stafford. They've got the talent all around them, and that defense is still playing well. And it's Sean McVay. You know what I mean? They don't say quit. I don't get where people are like, oh, they're going to be selling. I don't think so. I think the way they see this division is it being tight, and with the Arizona Cardinals tied with first right now, they ain't having any of that. They're ready to make a push here, So I think the Rams are going to win this one.
We mentioned last Thursday night about Cooper Kupp because there was that trade conversation, and we told you if he's playing in that game, they're not trading him. If he sits out of the game, now they might be on the phone with a couple of people where he might be gone next week. And sure enough, he was in the lineup. He played and played well. He's not going nowhere.
Yep. All right, next for Sunday Night Football, the Colts with Joe Flacco now. Minnesota, again, just lost last week to the Rams, who was, I think, just the Rams, again, surprised people, and they were hungry at Minnesota. Yeah, exactly. Again, Minnesota kind of got caught with the whole fact that everybody knows they have Justin Jefferson on offense here. Yes, they do have some other, good players, not exactly big playmakers like that though too. Sam Darnold didn't have the best day, but they can bounce back here. I think they just also added Cam Robinson to the defensive side too, so even it helped that defense even more. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. My bad.
He's a left. Remember, Christian Darrisaw down with an injury. He's going to be out for quite some time, maybe even the season.
Yeah.
And they pulled off it. Listen, this is what the good teams do. They had a weakness. They traded for a starting left tackle, by the way.
Yeah.
The Jaguars are selling. If anybody's looking, they're selling because they just traded away their starting left tackle.
Yeah.
Cam Robinson comes to the Vikings, insert left tackle. They're still on the roll.
Yep. So there you go to help solidify that. Colts, I think they do look better with Joe Flacco here, but I don't think it's enough too. There, I don't think that it's enough here. I think the Minnesota Vikings bounce back and get another win at home. I like the Vikings.
Yeah, this is kind of where they sustained 2 losses in a row.
Yep.
Everybody's wondering is the stadium falling? Like what's happening with the Viking? Sam Darnold, is he falling apart? No. This is just one of those things where they played the Lions, mind you.
You're gonna lose sometimes.
That was a very close loss, and then last week they let the game get away from them. Couldn't really get fire back. The Vikings, however, they are still a very competitive team. They're going to get back on track against the Colts. I love Joe Flacco, by the way. I think this is the right decision. Jim, they must have been listening to the pod last week because Joe Flacco being named the starter. We've been saying it for the last 3 weeks. If you want to stay in the race, you got to put Flacco out there. Richardson being benched.
I found the bug. The bug is right here.
However, the team says they're not done with him.
Yeah.
But we're going to start Joe Flacco because he's actually going to win games for us. So this might not be one of them, though. I definitely think this uplifts the Colts offensively. They are going to score points with Flacco in the lineup. But again, I don't know if the Colts have enough, especially defensively, to stop this Vikings team. So, and we all know how good the Vikings defense is. So, give me Minnesota at home against the Colts in a very close game.
Yeah. It's funny too, because when I talked about this earlier on with Big John, he had a different take on it, which I don't think I agree with. And you probably won't agree with either, because we've been all on, Steichen, play with the guy who can win right now. And I think still Joe Flacco, I think even at this point, is still willing to teach now younger guys or whatever and kind of be that veteran presence to help them. He wasn't before when he first would got the news that you're going to be a secondary quarterback. You know what I mean? I think he's matured in a sense of that way. But the Big John was thinking along the lines of, all right, Richardson, you've been inconsistent with the ball. You've been actually very, poor decision making and things like that. Very terrible. This is a disciplinary bench, and then you're coming back next week to start. I don't see it that way.
No,
Now, do you see it that way? I'm like, I don't see that making sense because again,
here's what
how
I'm
does
gonna
that even
say.
help you? How does that help with disciplining your starter or your rookie or so, or your young quarterback? Bench them for not playing well, but then you throw them back in the fire again.
Well,
Instead of just
here's what I'm going to say is that honestly, like you're not going to make a quarterback change now when Anthony Richardson is healthy. Like he's healthy. If he was the answer, even if you're disciplining him, why would you bother for 1 week? Say, hey, you're going to be benched. Watch what Joe Flacco does. Just do what Joe Flacco does from now on, and we'll put you back in.
Then go back
like,
in. Now that doesn't make sense to me, right?
This is a quarterback. This is a decision. Just like we mentioned it a few weeks before on our show, that we said if you start Joe Flacco, that means you're not giving up the season because obviously he runs the offense better. They score more points with him. He's kept them in games at the very least, right down to the wire, or won games for them. Mm-hmm. Where Anthony Richardson continues to make mistakes, turns the ball over, just can't sustain drives with him at quarterback. And enough is enough. If you want to stick, listen, you got the rest of the second half of the season. It's not out of the realm of possibility to kind of get back into the hunt. Maybe you can get a wild card with Joe Flacco. Maybe it's still a big if, but at least it gives you an opportunity to kind of be competitive. Get back into the hunt a little bit. So I see this move as a permanent move for this year anyway. I see Joe Flacco finishing the season. If they get into playoff contention, Flacco will remain the starter. If they get into the latter part of the season and it looks like maybe the last 2 games don't matter, maybe that's when they put Richardson back in for the last 2 games. But other than that, Flacco will be the starter.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. We got Monday Night Football now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City, will they suffer their first loss here to the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield?
I think we've said that every week the past 4 weeks.
Right? That's still the question that looms. And like I said, I mean, that's why they're kind of a scary team. And I understand what you're saying. Like right now, they're not very scary, yes, because they're backdooring games. But they're backdooring games now, and they're still undefeated. And they only have that ceiling to get better. So that's what I mean. They haven't hit their stride. So when they hit their stride, they're going to be that much scarier. But if they don't, then that's sad. Then
honestly, like I don't think they're this ramped up engine that's going to roar at the end of the season the way they are. They're not built for it right now. They've managed to put some band-aids on this offense. That's what you saw with the DeAndre Hopkins, trade. Obviously Isaiah Pacheco, when he comes back, that's going to uplift that running game a little bit more because Kareem Hunt, to be honest with you, like he's not the guy. Like I understand he's done an adequate job, but once Pacheco gets back, Hunt might be just a goal line back at that point.
Goal line back. Yeah.
But for the rest of this offense, they don't have a Rashee Rice who's very, explosive type of wide receiver. Malcolm Brown, who was going to be that deep threat for them, and then you pair him up with Xavier Worthy, which gave defenses some kind of nightmares that, thinking about it. How are we going to defend this? Now this team is so different this season that I think they're just still trying to find different ways to be able to put points on the board and help Patrick Mahomes because Mahomes is struggling. You can't have a quarterback struggle. And even though they've been able to get some scrape away some wins here and there, the refs, let's be honest, the refs have been helping this team this season. Mm-hmm. There's been critical moments in games where maybe they should have lost that game, but they end up winning because they called pass interference, halfway down the football field, gave them a better opportunity to win it. So, it seems to me like, and I hate to say this because, I'm not basically saying they're winning just because of the refs, but at the same point in time, they're being helped along with some of these games in order to have an opportunity to win these games. So that all being said to me, I really don't know about this Chiefs team yet. And even looking down the stretch of the season, I think it's only going to get tougher for the Chiefs, honestly. Their defense to me, honestly, the defense to me is better than what it was last year. And that's scary enough, like defensively. But the Chiefs offense, to me, like if they don't start scoring more points, I feel like other teams are going to have ample opportunities to win games as we get closer to the end of the season. Because Chiefs are not going to be the only team that gets better. Everybody's going to continue to get better.
Right. Yeah, and you've got a bunch of other teams that are very good out there and that are very scary, like we talked about. The Buccaneers, I was going to say, if you had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin still, I would give this the nod to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on this one.
Yeah, right.
But I think losing those players is so key to them right now. I think Todd Bowles versus Spagnuolo is going to be the matchup here. I mean, it's going to be great to see their kind of defense kind of face off here.
Yeah.
But I think overall, because of not having those weapons there on offense, it's going to hurt them a bit. So I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs on this one, just because, that's probably the better matchup. Although again, I would like to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pull a win, because I think if you had your starting wide receivers here, I think Baker Mayfield has what it takes to beat the Chiefs here on this one.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Baker Mayfield, who knows?
I think he's going to give him a run for his money this game even.
Maybe Baker Mayfield was looking forward to this matchup all along this season, wanted to prove to people like, hey, I can win big games. I could win. But here's the thing is, you're right, Jim, with not having Mike Evans, with not having Chris Godwin, it really sucks for Tampa Bay fans and Baker Mayfield, because if you've seen Cade Otton, we called it out. We called it out, Jim. We said to everybody, pay attention to Cade Otton have a big game. And sure enough, he did, because of the lack of wide receivers at Baker Mayfield's disposal. The rookie McMillan didn't step up. Sterling Shepard didn't step up. Nobody stepped up, but Cade Otton definitely stepped up. And that those running backs, it's one of these things where it sucks, because I would have loved to see this matchup with Evans in the lineup and Chris Godwin. It would have made it a lot more exciting. To me, I'm not feeling that exciting about this matchup. I think the Chiefs are going to obviously be a little bit lucky in this aspect of getting another W, because the other team is not in full strength on offense and missing two key pieces like they are on offense. And defensively, honestly, with you, the Buccaneers defense to me is just okay. It's just average. It hasn't been playing that well week in and week out. So I have to give the edge to the Chiefs in this one. I'm sorry. I just have to.
I know we hate to do it, but that's what it is, So, all right, Joe, it was a long one tonight, because again, it was kind of
3 hours.
3 hours, but we got it. But we had a few different guests here. I went solo at first, but John jumped in, helped me out a bit too, because nobody wants to hear my sad monologue complaining about the Giants, because then I'm just a lonely man in a basement, complaining about New York. So
so if anybody sees this right now and they want to know what happens, the first 50 minutes is about New York teams. So if you want to skip the New York teams, you have to skip 50 minutes of the video. But we really appreciate you guys out there. Thank you, Blitz Nation, for tuning in. Really appreciate all the support out there, and help us out a little bit further with the support. Just like a quick thank you to us. Head over to YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button at Grumblings Media. We are growing like crazy. We are almost at 4,000. We are almost at 4,000 subscribers. Make sure you hit the thumbs up while you're there. Share to all your family and friends. Drop a comment down below. We will react to it. Not right now, but next week. Tune in next week. Drop a comment down below. We will be there. And also, you can check our website out, grumblingsmedia.com, for articles, other podcasts like this, whether it be political, sports, entertainment. We got you back.
Yeah, just scan the QR code right there. It's your easy stop to get right there too, instead of searching and stuff. Just scan the QR code right there on the screen. It's literally right there on your phone right now, or on your computer screen. There. Don't know what the schedule is for next week. It is election night next week.
Oh, okay, that's right.
So not sure. We have to talk to Grumblings Media, because it is a big political company and a big night. So we have to find out with scheduling. Scheduling might be a little different here.
We might be off. Who knows?
we might be off, and then maybe we'll just reconvene on Wednesday or something like that and do another cross-brand show. We're not sure, but we will be back. You guys enjoy the games this weekend, and I guess then we'll just see you guys next time.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.